2, 1. Hello, one and all. Welcome back. It's another Monday night here at IR Bad at Games. And, well, I'm back at the table again, and we are going to be diving back into some more Chaos Child, a spiritual successor to Steins Gate, at least in the same science adventure series. So a lot of the same concepts, a lot of the same through lines as far as like characters and like world building stuff. But we started this last week. Last Monday we did a stream of it. We just really got a little bit into chapter 1. A quick overview if you weren't for that stream and are just joining us for the first time tonight. Chaos Child is a story about, at least what we've seen so far, a story about a bunch of high schoolers in Shibuya, Tokyo, hunting out or investigating murders that are taking place. Our main character, Takaru, is the president of the newspaper club of his high school, and him and his friends are investigating a series of murders that seem to be taking place. And much to the chagrin of the vice president of the club and the student council president, Takaru seems to be obsessed with this case and wants to go on with it. And so when we ended last week, we had put together that the new murder cases that are cropping up seem to coincide, at least the dates of them seem to coincide with some murders that took place 6 years ago, right before this massive earthquake that hit Shibuya. And if all is lining up the way our protagonist thinks it's lining up, then as we come in tonight to continue this stream, there should be another murder. And yeah, so let's jump right into this.
Oh god. Yeah, just gonna have to shake the Etch-a-Sketch on voices probably.
It was a love hotel area in Dogenzaka, 5 minutes from Shibuya Station. A few days ago, there had been some kind of suspicious fire here, and I had come to do some reporting. The place was supposedly a love hotel spot, but even at night when business should have been booming, it wasn't particularly exciting. During the day, when all the lights were turned off, if you didn't look at the signs, it wouldn't look very different from your average neighborhood. One of the buildings was a 4-story love hotel with a terrible name, Fairy's Dance. It faced a narrow street. It's not that bad. It faced a narrow street, and there was no parking lot, so the police car was parked at a meter nearby.
Could have been like the steamed clam or something.
Were you
there are worse.
Are you sick or
I don't remember. Is that
that's the pink-haired girl.
All right, this way. I do remember that one.
Serica was standing in front of a general store some distance away. She was supposed to be spending the day taking photos of the area around the last 2 crimes. What happened?
Oh wait, that's the wrong pink-haired girl. I don't remember what it.
Just give her a new voice.
I don't know. I passed by Jensen near 107, and he told me something was up here.
I just don't get that guy. Where does he find out about this stuff? It's helpful, so I guess it doesn't matter too much. Jensen was a homeless man I knew who had sold me all the books in my secret stash. He was a drunk who claimed to be of noble blood, but the stories he told me about his past didn't sound very noble at all. The guy was a weirdo, but since he spent all his time wandering around Shibuya, he knew a surprising amount of info about it.
It seems like something's really happening, though. The policewoman who just went in looked like he was... Oh, policeman? I don't know. I can't read, apparently. Who just went in, looked like he was calling for backup.
I see. I decided to start by taking a video of the outside of the hotel with my smartphone.
Thinking, I see. You really run fast at times like these. That was the French
Yeah.
accent chick.
I'd left the two of them in the
She's
club room, and they'd
there.
only just now caught up with me. They must have ran here. Ito especially was breathing very heavily. What? Oh, Kurusu came too? Suzuki had decided not to come, evidently. Of course not. I'd never seen her outside except when we were going to and from school.
Can't provide Overwatch, from outside of the chair. So, did something happen?
I told Ito what I heard from Serica. He seemed really disappointed.
What? You sure it's not just some couple that had a fight?
Would you call reinforcements just for that? And today is the 29th, you know.
I told you, you're overthinking this.
Rusu seemed upset. He glanced at the love hotels around her in disgust.
I do that. Let's get back to school. This isn't a place where students are supposed to be. What if one of the security cameras spots us?
We probably didn't want to get involved. Ever since the rebuilding, there'd been more cameras around Shibuya than ever before, even around the love hotels. In our school uniforms, we probably stood out. Rusu motioned for us to go home. And then, saw something in the viewfinder. On the 3rd floor of the Love Hotel, the windows in one of the rooms facing the alley open. The windows must have been open all the way because the curtains were fluttering about. Hey, you normally don't open the windows in a place like this, do you? I asked Ito as I looked up to them.
Yeah, I'm probably not. I don't know. I've never been to one. Oh.
Ito followed my gaze and saw it for himself. Felt suspicious. I've never been to a love hotel either, so I didn't know. But normally you keep the windows shut, right? You don't want no one seeing that shit. You wouldn't want people seeing or hearing what you were doing.
It's not like an unreasonable assumption. Yeah. Unless you're into that.
Yeah. And then suddenly I heard a sound from somewhere. It was a calming sound with a simple melody. I took a closer listen. Was it a music box? Definitely was. It was coming from the room with the open windows. It sounded like it was inviting us in. What was going on?
It's good echolocation there.
Yeah. I looked around. The building across from the open window was another love hotel, but it had no windows on that side. I couldn't look into the building like I'd done with the karaoke box last week. And I certainly couldn't climb my way up.
Wait, what are you thinking?
I must have had a pensive look on my face because Kurusu had turned to me curiously. We can get inside without them finding us.
What?
I looked over at the parking meters. There was still only the one car. Okay. There should be a rear entrance somewhere, so let's do this before the police reinforcements get here. Ito, go around from that side.
Okay.
I'll take this side.
Takao, stop. Look at me.
I began to go around the building, not waiting for Ito's answer, but Kurusu grabbed my arm.
You can't do this. This is way beyond what a high school club should be involved in. Won't you listen to me? Like, no, really though, accurate.
Crap.
Kid.
She was just a millimeter short of making that face again.
And this is one of those dirty hotels too, isn't it? Well, so what if you get caught up in something weird?
I knew all that, but I didn't want to give up. This might be my chance to get a real scoop.
To actually read names, it's not fair. What if you get expelled as your big sister? Like, kind of let you put yourself in danger.
Yeah, well, that's a revelation. Kurusu and Takaru are brother and sister.
Actually siblings? Oh my god. Huh.
Sister, we're not actually family though, are we?
Oh god, okay. Oh?
That seemed to upset her. Caruso immediately grabbed me by my collar and with incredible force and brought her face so close to mine that our foreheads touched.
Sweet Jesus, what's going on?
I could tell that her cheeks were flushed.
This would make me very uncomfortable.
There was a small wordless growl from deep within her throat, and her arms were shaking as she held me.
Yeah, lose it.
What was she trying to say? No, I knew exactly what she was trying to say, but Kurisu didn't say it. Kurisu wasn't the sort of awful person who'd bring up the distant past to try to win an argument. And anyway, that was all over now. It wasn't either of our faults.
What the fuck? Stop it. Yeah.
Suddenly, Serica ran over and tackled Kurisu. The momentum slammed both of them into the ground.
Oh, Celica, what was that for? No fighting, Nonchan. That goes for you, too, Taco. The motto of the newspaper club is that all 5 of us are friends, right? That's not a great motto.
That was never our motto.
All 5 of us are friends. Woo! Shinchan, you need to stop them too. Oh, wait, where were you? Oh, that's right. This is no time for fighting, Taku.
She suddenly hopped up like a cheap toy.
The back door is open.
What?
I was thirsty, but I couldn't find a vending machine, so I decided to look inside the hotel. And I went around and to the back door and opened it. Then I went inside, and there was a vending machine, and I said to myself, way to go, Fairy's dance. And then I bought a drink and gulped it down and then said, wait a second. What?
You always get ahead of yourself.
So, Taku, what's the plan? No, what did you say?
I could tell that Kurisu was glaring at me. But she didn't say anything. She couldn't say anything. Let's go together. If we pretend to be a couple, we might be able to fool them if it comes to that.
Okay.
As soon as the words were out of my mouth, Serica beckoned me to follow her. Did.
Pensive looks.
I didn't say it, but in my heart, I apologized to Kurisu as I went. Of course, she couldn't hear me, so she didn't say anything.
Maybe she got the vibe. The stairs are over here, though.
We went inside the hotel from the rear entrance and hid behind the corner that led to the lobby. This was my first time inside a love hotel, and it was a lot less gaudy than I'd expected. The name was false advertising. There were no fairies and no one was dancing. Maybe the quiet atmosphere was a selling point, but...
Good soundproofing is really...
Just send someone back here! What? No, ask Shinjo-chan! Then, the silence was ruined by the sound of a police officer screaming into a phone. He was either confused or just excited, because he kept saying the same things over and over again. Something had happened after all. Something bad enough that he needed backup. This was my chance. If we could get to the scene before the place was overflowing with cops, we might be able to find an unexpected scoop. Yes, there's no doubt about it. I checked, but I can't decide that on my own. No, I told you, that's not what's going on. Damn it. That cop was in the way. Whether we took the stairs or the elevator, we needed to go through the lobby to get to them.
Taku, let's go.
Huh?
Hurry.
Wait! Serica
Keep
took
up,
me
Saga.
Serica took me by the arm as if we were a couple and entered the lobby without trying to hide at all. Hey, come on! She ignored me and walked straight for the stairs. Hey! The cop must have seen us because he yelled at us from behind. Shit! He probably hadn't seen our faces.
Be cool.
Did we run? No, that would just make us look suspicious. I told you not to leave your rooms. Yes. No, sorry. It's okay. Forget that. I need backup now. He started to mumble to the phone.
Just play it cool.
We crossed the lobby without looking back.
Do-do-do-do-do.
That was crazy.
But you were right. We were able to fool him.
Really scared me. I was too close for comfort. My heart was pounding so loud that the noise was making me sick. Did he not tell that we were high school students? No. Even if he saw us from behind, he should have been able to tell by our uniforms. Why didn't he arrest us?
Not my job. There was a murder. Got
Maybe
shit
just-
to do.
Maybe he was panicking so much that the thought never occurred to him. I mean, yeah, makes sense.
Okay, what's the next step?
Erica let go of my arm and turned toward me. That's right. Now isn't the time to think about other things. Well, we don't know whether or not that room is on the third floor is what we're after, but we should start there. If that doesn't work, we'll try other places. Once the police reinforcements arrive, we need to leave. But from the way that officer was acting, something was definitely up. We need to get those photos before we go.
Okay.
It was quiet. The policeman's voice was still drifting up the stairs, but it only made the silence seem more oppressive. Just like he said, the customers had probably been told not to leave their rooms. It was too late for it to matter now, but I was starting to feel a little scared. Come to think of it, something had happened. Maybe the killer was still here.
Hey, Taku, you're fighting with Non-chan again, aren't you?
Erica's voice was relaxed. I was grateful. I'd take any opportunity to relieve this tension. It wasn't really a fight. No, maybe it was.
But you're still calling her Kurusu, right? I know how you feel, but isn't there something you can do?
Until half a year ago, I'd called her No-No, her first name. After the incident that had caused me to leave the dorm, I'd never call her that again. As long as I kept calling her Kurusu, she'd keep being mad at me. It must have been hurting some important part of her.
Taku.
Oh. Next thing I knew, we were on the third floor. Erica had gotten ahead of me at some point and was poking her head around the corner into the hallway.
Nobody's here, I think.
Good. Took out my phone and got ready to record. As soon as I went to the third floor hallway, I found myself holding my breath. My heart was pounding even louder than when the cop had yelled at us. I tried to control myself and looked down the corridor. The rooms must have been very big because the gap between the doors was large. The floor was red, sinking into the black as the hallway stretched away. I could hear the unpleasant sound of blowing air. They must have had the air conditioning on. Unpleasant sound? Okay. There were no windows.
Blowing air,
Yeah.
I guess. It blows.
There was no windows. There wasn't a lot of light, so the hallway looked pretty creepy. There was nothing out of the ordinary about it otherwise. Still, it was strange. The air felt solid. It felt like someone would jump out from the shadows the second you let your guard down. Or perhaps that was that there were traps scattered everywhere along the floor. For a second, the floor seemed to be stained with blood, but I shook that image out of my mind. What was this? It was like the fear you feel in the darkness at night. Is it just because there was so little light?
They're called liminal spaces.
No, it was worse than that. It felt like someone was watching me and enjoying my unease. It was like they were peering deep into my heart.
Taku.
I almost jumped off the ground with a start.
What's wrong?
Don't just talk to me out of nowhere like that. Scare the hell out of
The
me.
only way.
It's nothing. Hey, isn't this kind of weird? I gestured down the hallway with my head. Erica looked past me into the darkness.
It's creepy because it's so dim, but isn't that just to set the mood?
Was it? That all? Was I being too sensitive? I tried flipping the light switch on in the wall next to me, but nothing happened. Maybe the bulbs were burned out, or maybe it wasn't the switch for this hallway at all. Damn it. This wasn't 1407 or something. Which I think...
1408.
1408.
Yeah, the movie about the haunted hotel room.
Turned around. The only person there was Serica. No one else was looking at me.
What's happening?
Took some
Is
time
he
to make
looking
sure.
down so low? Sorry.
I took some time to make sure of it before I spoke. Let's go.
Yeah. Like, come on. Why are we not? We're just standing here.
Erica nodded cheerfully and stayed behind me as we walked deeper into the hallway. I remembered the location of the window I'd seen outside. It was probably deeper in the hall, the furthest one back, or the one before it. Probably one of those two. I walked as silently as I could down the long hallway, toward the last rooms on the left side. With every step I took, I could feel the sensation of the hallway floor through the bottom of my heels. It was like I was being forced to think about the nerves that I'd never used. My body felt tense. I didn't see any cops in the hallway. Usually, they'd at least leave one person here at the scene. Is this the wrong floor? I reached the second to last door. Room 306.
Okay.
What kind of trigger would you like to have here?
Well.
I listened carefully, but I didn't hear anything revealing. Just a quiet rumble of the air conditioning.
Bad, right? We gotta go with bad here.
All right, we'll go with bad.
I don't know what good would be. It's full of candy. Is there a peephole?
Come on.
That was that was Veronica.
This is a love hotel.
So yes? Oh, right.
Hey, what are you...
Knocking?
You can't. Negative trigger.
Oh no!
And then suddenly the door flung open. Who the fuck is knocking on my door? An angry and very underdressed man came storming out. His hair was short and permed, and he had a gold necklace around his neck. Oh no, this guy's bad news. Eric had frozen in surprise. Were you the one who knocked? When he glared at me, I shook my head without thinking. And then he turned his gaze towards Serica. Then it was you? I'll teach you a lesson about what happens when you screw with me, you stupid kid. The man grabbed Serica by the hand and tried to pull her into the room.
No, let me go.
You were the one who knocked. No turning back now.
Taku.
She turned toward me for help with tears in her eyes. Something really bad was about to happen to her. I had to do something. I had to. Please stop. Shut the fuck up. I was suddenly kicked in the solar plexus. The force sent me flying all the way back to the other wall where I collapsed to the ground.
Taku.
The pain was so great that I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even stand up. And then the door shut. I could hear the man's yelling and Serica's screams from within.
Oh shit, they're dark.
All I could do was crumple up into a ball on the ground, crying in fear and frustration. What if that had happened? Erica was just too reckless. We didn't belong in a place like this anyway. I bit my lip and watched in fear as she kept knocking. Stop it, okay?
You sure?
Police aren't here either. Maybe it's not this floor.
Oh, wait, that's you.
I flinched back at the sudden noise.
What?
Oh, I'll turn auto on. There we go. Was the sound of the glass? Was that the sound of glass breaking? It's from the next room over, right? She was clinging to my back in surprise, with her hands on my shoulders.
I think so. It came from further down, right?
Erica pointed to the next room. We stood there for a moment. The violent sound must have scared her because Serica's easygoing mood had totally vanished. But we waited a while. Nothing more happened. There were no voices or sounds of struggle. The hallway was the same as ever. But was I imagining it, or was the hall a little darker than before? Should we go back?
I mean,
Serica didn't answer.
Yeah.
Serica didn't answer my question. She didn't seem afraid, but she had a serious look on her face as she stared down the hallway. Maybe something had happened, and the killer was still there. No, wait. I need to think about this rationally. There was an officer on the first floor who'd called for backup. Usually when a call came in, the police never went in there alone. There was always more than one. I found that out myself during my reporting, so I was sure of it. So there had to be another officer at the scene. The killer couldn't just be
Wow.
hiding there. If there was any
Sure.
chance of that, the cop wouldn't have just told us to go back to our rooms. Did the killer break the glass during a struggle? No, that didn't make sense either. If there had been any chance of them being able to do that, would that officer have gone downstairs? He'd probably gone down there to tell the front desk not to let anyone else in. Damn it. I had no proof, but be okay, right? More than anything, I hadn't taken any photos yet. What? I jumped, literally, when I heard the sudden sound. It was a very strange sound, one that didn't belong here at all. I looked and saw that Serica had gotten so nervous that she'd taken out her Garo Froggy Garoro strap and started to play with it. She probably didn't even know that she was doing it. I softly poked her with my elbow. I motioned for her to keep
Fucking
quiet.
stop.
She seemed confused, but then she realized what she was doing and quickly put the strap back in her pocket. As soon as she was done, I looked down the hallway once more, all the way to the front of the room. We should head there. Tried to steel myself and looked over my shoulder once more to make sure no one was there. I started to walk forward very carefully. I was afraid of making even the slightest sound. Serica followed me wordlessly with her hand on my shoulder. I grabbed her hand with my free hand. The other was holding my smartphone. She squeezed it tight. The feeling of her hand kept me strong as I walked forward. The next room. Room 305. The room at the far end of the hallway. Just like room 306, had a plain old door, but it felt like it was exuding an intense pressure.
This is where it came from, right?
He was asking about the sound. I think so. I answered, despite not having any proof at all. We waited. Still heard nothing. I looked around once more to make sure no one was there and put my ear up against the door. And then I heard a small sound. It was the sound that I heard outside, the sound from the windows, like a music box playing. It was relaxed and peaceful, even if we weren't, and played the same tune over and over. This is the room, the one with the open windows. Serica was looking at me.
The lid open?
No, that's... I hesitated, but she put her hand on the doorknob.
Oh, God. Fast forward to her conviction at murder trial. Nope.
She seemed relieved, but a little upset. I knew exactly how she felt. I felt the same way.
Same.
I moved away from the door. I would have liked to take some photos before I left, but... Huh?
Did you just hear the sound of a lock?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. We were too confused to move. There was no sign of anyone coming out. I slowly touched the doorknob. It turned.
Not good.
The door was unlocked. How?
Well, someone unlocked it, obviously.
As if guided by all the strange things that were happening, I pushed the record button on my smartphone. I gripped the doorknob tighter. A voice in my mind told me to stop, to go back, but it was wiped out by the sound of the smartphone recording starting and the door slowly opening. The more it opened, the less I was able to ignore my curiosity. Felt like something besides Serica was pushing me forward as I opened the door. The song was playing in the dimly lit room. All the lights were off, but the sun was outside. The sun outside was streaming through the open window. Its light was very weak. The curtain in front of me, which partitioned off a part of the room, was blocking the light. I gulped and realized my lips were dry. I ran my tongue over them to wet them a little, and then I realized my heart was pounding. The sound was so loud that I thought my heart might have somehow moved up into my ears. It seemed to be beating out of some bizarre rhythm, and it was making me sick. I forced myself to swallow my saliva and hoped it would keep me from throwing up, and I took a slow step forward. I held up my phone to record what I was seeing, and I realized something. That curtain wasn't partitioning the room. It was a bed, and there was a raised spot off the floor with a circular bed surrounded by a curtain. The light was streaming out from behind it. The windows we'd seen were on the other side of it, and the song seemed to be coming from there as well. Crap. Just too dark. I went to flip the nearby light switch, then forced myself to stop.
God damn it.
No.
Okay, good.
I couldn't touch anything in this room. Some kind of crime must have taken place here. But I was scared to go any deeper into the darkness. My shoes made my steps sound loud against the floor. There was no response, only the relaxed melody. I gave a signal to Serica, who was still behind me, and went deeper into the room. But for a moment, I just thought I heard the sound of creaking metal. Felt like I was hearing it between the gaps of the music box melody. There was no change that I could see. No one jumped out, and nothing was moving. There was just the sound of the music box. I looked from one part of the room to the other to make sure nothing was amiss. And then I slowly moved forward. Someone was lying on the floor.
Huh?
When my eyes adjusted to the gloom, I saw a police officer and a woman. The officer was lying up against the bathroom with his legs splayed out and his head drooping. The girl was lying on the floor face down. They showed no signs of noticing us. No, that wasn't right. The glass behind them was shattered into 1,000 pieces. Oh, God. The second I understood what was going on, my hand holding the smartphone started to shake. Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. I could see a little blood dripping from the police officer's head.
Yep.
I spun around as I heard the sound. The warmth drained from my face in an instant, and my whole body shivered. Someone sitting on the bed. I staggered back and slammed into Serica. Let's get out of here, now! But I couldn't move.
Zoinks!
My hand was frozen as it pointed the smartphone towards whoever was behind the curtain, and it wasn't doing what I told it to do. Damn it! I took a step back, tripped, and then fell to the floor. My lungs weren't working right. The silhouette moved a little, and I flinched. No, it didn't move. The bed was rotating. Whoever was behind the curtain showed no sign of noticing us. They didn't budge an inch. What the hell's going on here?
Taku, the door won't open.
Erica's voice sounded like it was far away. I ran back to the entrance and slammed myself into the door. It's not opening. It's not opening. I want it open.
I don't know.
Erica yelled back at me. Why? Oh, that's you.
What? Why? Why?
Erica screamed as she slammed against the door.
What the fuck?
I helped her try to batter it down.
It's like 1408.
but it didn't work. It was like trying to batter down a wall.
The doors be like that sometimes. What?
Suddenly, I heard a knock at the door. I reflexively jumped away without thinking. Knock, 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 knock.
Ruh-roh.
It was coming from behind this door. The knocking was rhythmic and constant.
What? What?
It was just a knock at the door. But my whole body started to shake. Someone was on the other side of the door. Someone was knocking. It definitely wasn't the police. I felt as if my sanity was boiling away, melting out from the soles of my feet on upward. No. No. Don't open that door. Right, go out the back. Let's use the window. I grabbed Serica's hand and ran to the back of the room. And I felt silent at what I saw. Huh?
No.
What is that? The curtain was open. There was a man there, sitting.
You could call it that.
No, he was moving slowly. The bed was moving in time to the sound of the music box. An eerie sound came from the wire wrapped around his neck. Ah! The wire was hanging down from the ceiling, choking him. His face was all puffed up, and it was a color I'd never seen before. His pants were wet, and the stain extended to the bed itself. The smell of piss and shit hung in my nose. He wasn't alive. He was dead. The hell is this? Why was he dead? Did he suffocate? Why was the curtain open? And what the hell is he doing here? Why was he dead? My right hand moved without me realizing it.
Rick.
Huh? I needed to use the window to escape, but I pointed my phone's camera at the body instead.
Taku, we need to get out of here.
The body spun slowly. Each time it went around, the wire made an awful sound and dug deeper into his neck. It had dug so deep by now that the man's neck was the size of my wrist. The skin must have been broken because it was bleeding a little.
Taku.
What am I doing? Erica was right next to me, but her voice sounded far away, like she was talking to a telephone. I needed to get out of here, but I couldn't stop the filming. Why was I doing this? Why was he dead? The wire dug deeper and deeper into his neck without waiting for me to come up with an answer. The body turned away from me. I could see the back of his neck. The flesh on the wire was swollen red and black.
Oh, bud.
I heard a muffled sound, like something hard snapping inside of a bag. The head slumped just a little.
You're gonna want to get out of here.
His neck had just broken. That must have been the sound of his neck breaking.
Taku, let's get out of here.
I could hear Serica's voice. Get out of here. Get out of here. That's right, I need to get out of here.
Yes. Not that way.
My body moved as I heard another sound. I spun around.
Oh dear.
Ah! I screamed. And then I heard something from behind me. I don't know what I did. But the next thing I knew,
What?
my whole field of vision had turned red. And I felt something like a ball had hit me. Before I could understand what it was, everything faded to black. September 30th, 2015. It's a Wednesday.
What the shit is going on?
midnight.
This is a. That's yeah. Okay.
Shinjo-san, we've managed to ID the victim from his possessions in the security cameras. His name is Kakita Hironori, 22 years old, a Shibuya resident with a part-time marketing job at SafeWorks.
Part-timer at SafeWorks. Any lovers?
None. No roommates either. He lived alone, it seemed.
Shit.
Shinjo cursed. He was single and not in a relationship. It would take time to figure out his private life. And SafeWorks was one of the companies that had profited the most from the recovery projects in recent years. Part-timer or not, if he worked there, he was probably pretty busy. It was possible that his co-workers knew just his name and nothing else about who he was outside of work. Shinjo-san, what do we tell the media? Kayomi TV and Nikoya's net reporters are refusing to leave. And those two kids we found at the scene, who said they were with the Haikiho newspaper club, they've calmed down, but they're still not making a lot of sense. The other girl doesn't have anything that would tell us who she is. We're checking if she's a friend or relative of Kakita's, but no luck yet. She's refusing to say anything. Also, forensics wants to know... Hey, you can't just...
Who the fuck? This is Watabe from Nikanaya News. Excuse me, what's going on here?
Get out! You can't come in here without permission!
Just a brief comment. A brief comment is all I need.
Shinjo's men physically dragged the reporter out of the room. He had to stop himself from putting his hands to his head and moaning. He couldn't let his men see him acting weak. Shinjo had been with Police HQ's Section 1 for less than 7 years. He didn't get along with his superiors, but he managed to beg his way into being in charge of this case. Maybe this was his way of avenging the death of an older detective who he admired.
Well, once you're done looking at the window frame, make sure it can't be seen from the outside. There's no telling what those net reporters will do.
Yes, sir.
I'll talk to forensics myself. Oh, and put some more manpower into checking his connections at work. I'll tell the bosses.
Yes, sir. So, what about those kids?
I'll handle them too. Get to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
His men raced out of the room. They never had a case like this before, and they were probably pretty excited. So was Sinjo, to be honest. The whole thing was such a mess that he didn't even know where to begin. But his detective's instincts were screaming at him to start doing the work needed to find a killer.
Okay. Like the fucking Chamberlain.
Hello, this is the Frisia Credit Bureau. His call was answered on the first ring, like always.
It's me.
Oh, Sinjo-chan. You're late. I thought you'd be contacting me earlier.
I'm sorry.
Sinjo apologized without thinking, and for no clear reason. He always felt like a naughty child when he spoke to this CEO, who happened to be a woman. You know why you're so exhausted? It's 'cause you're taking this so seriously. You should relax a bit, like they did.
I've got no intention. Wait. Oh. I've got no intention of copying their habits. I swear I can read.
So serious, aren't you? If you keep on thinking that's a virtue, you're gonna have a bad time of it one day.
Mose-san, there's something I wanted to talk to you about.
Sinjo cut her off before she could continue her lecture and gave her a brief description of the scene.
Shit's fucked.
This was a violation of the rules, but the only way to solve a crazy case was to be a little crazy yourself. That was the first thing he learned from that older detective. So, is it a murder? Suicide? Mose asked her question as he described the situation. He cut to the heart of the problem.
Well, we're not sure right now. I wouldn't be...
The hotel had gotten suspicious when Kakita had never come down after checkout time. When more than 10 calls to the room went unanswered, they contacted the police. 2 officers, as well as someone from the hotel, had gone to the room where they found the body and an unconscious girl. One officer stayed at the scene to keep it secure, and the other searched the hotel to make sure it was safe. During the search, he'd forgotten to lock the employee entrance in the back near the stairs. That was how the 2 students from Haikiho got in. Shortly after he left the room, the girl woke up and started strangling the officer who stayed behind. He'd hit his head on the edge of the glass window and knocked himself out. He was going to be fine, but he'd been out cold until backup arrived.
The fuck?
When the backup got there, they found the girl unconscious on the floor. A boy from Haikiho was passed out on the floor too. The other girl from Haikiho was throwing up, also on the floor. Kakita's sense of Kakita's cause of death was asphyxia via strangulation.
It's gotta be her.
The wire around his neck was the kind used at construction sites. It had been hung in the X pattern from the lights in the ceiling, and he'd been sitting on the bed as it rotated. That's why there was so much pressure on his neck that finally his head had been severed.
We got it on tape. Good.
From the estimated time of death, Kakita had passed away before the police had even been contacted. The body on the bed kept spinning in time to the music, 1 rotation every 2 minutes. In the end, the man's head had been cut off completely. The problem was the girl in the room. There was no indication that she'd ever touched Kakita. There were no fingerprints or any other signs that she'd touched Kakita's body, the bed, or the wire. The only things they found in her fingernails was skin and blood from the officer that she strangled. In fact, there was no indication she touched much of anything in the room. Everything they found belonged to Kakita. And according to the officer she strangled, when she attacked him, she had clearly been in an unstable psychological state. Her eyes had been bloodshot
rational stranglings.
and out of focus. So, what you trying to say here? That girl just watched Kakita die without touching anything in the room, and then started strangling a police officer while temporarily insane?
I guess.
Sinjo scratched his head as he heard her sum up the situation. That's what it looked like, at least from what they knew right now. And just by going by that, it sure looked like a suicide. Well, that was all far too strange. I see. It's a bit of a problem. What about those kids from Haikyho that got into the room?
I mean, they're probably not murderers. It seems like it was pretty traumatic for them. So at first they wouldn't say anything, but now they're starting to talk. But they're from Akio. The place has some issues.
He checked with the school and verified that they were part of the school's newspaper club. The security camera at the rear entrance had seen them coming in, which matched up with their testimony. But he didn't know what to make of their testimony that the door had been opened on its own, or that someone else had tried to come into the room. The door was equipped with an automatic lock, and the only person inside the room who could have opened it was the girl. But there was no sign of her fingerprints on the door. And the security camera in the hallway had shown no signs of anyone else trying to go in. In any event, it was extremely rare for a civilian to see a dead body outside of a funeral. And in an unstable mental state, it would be extremely easy for them to imagine things or just outright be mistaken about what was going on. If they turned out to not have any relationship to Kakita or the girl, he planned to let them off with a stern warning. Don't break into police crime scenes, kid.
You rascally kids, you. Our biggest lead is the girl who was in the room, but, she's not talking.
Yeah, she's probably going to be put under psychiatric hold at this rate, right?
Yeah, she strangled a cop, for sure. Yeah, but that will slow down the investigation a lot, so I'd rather not go that route.
Got it. Let me get some information spread around. Given your position, this is probably going to be pretty rough for you. So be ready, okay? I'll call back in 3 minutes.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Sinjo went to hang up the phone. Oh, wait.
What? Yeah?
Actually, I want you to do something for me. I'm sure it'll be a big help for you, too. Can you do it? So it was basically an order then, Sinjo thought to himself.
Right. What is it?
One of my kids knows more about this than I do, and they say that they want to see the crime scene personally. Can you help them out?
You want me to let an outsider into a crime scene?
It's always outsiders who give you the hints you need to solve a case.
What is this,
After all, I'm an outsider too, she continued. In his head, Sinjo went over the steps he had to take and the time required to take them.
Can it be tomorrow or no, the day after?
That's my Sinjo-chan. Glad we could work this out. I don't know how you'd manage around the rest of those hard heads in Section 1.
Alright, talk to you later.
Hold on a second, Sinjo-chan, would you?
God.
He barely stopped himself from ending the call.
What? Is there something else?
I wanted to give you some advice, just in case. 2 things. First, what I said before wasn't a joke, okay?
Huh?
You need to relax a little. Don't take everything so seriously.
You were serious about me not needing to take everything so seriously?
I'm sure a lot of things are about to happen that will be beyond your understanding. When that happens, your worst enemy is what you think you know.
I'll make sure to remember that.
If that was a serious answer, you still got a long ways to go. And the other thing is, Amose paused for a second and then chuckled. Don't let my kid get the better of you too often. You let your guard down, you end up an outsider yourself.
I'm sorry, what?
September 30th, 2015.
Knock
Wednesday.
your kid out. I'm writing them out.
Hey, did you see that thing on Twippo?
Oh yeah, you the meme from Heki Hobot? A giant Upo with a smug look on its face sitting in Shibuya Hikari Woo. Really? Hikari Woo? Probably not, but anyway. And saying, Shibuya sure has changed.
Yeah, that was really sad. Could we use that for a culture festival? Nobody's gonna look at a display about history of Shibuya's recovery anyway.
Is it enough to just have the picture, though? We need to actually have stuffed animals or something.
The male student started to search through Shibuya's stores with his smartphone. He must have found something strange because he kept mumbling, "No way!" Ito was recording the newspaper club's project for the festival. A bunch of random footage of the preparations in the cafeteria. Is this really the right time to be all excited over something like that, guys? Oh, wait. Well.
Oh, is this really the right time to be all excited over something like that, guys?
A body had just
I don't know what that's supposed to be. Is that him thinking?
I think it's him thinking to himself, yeah.
Yeah.
A body had just been found in. So, one thing I noticed, Steins Gate is the outlier in the whole Science Adventure series, where it just focuses on Okabe and his story. The rest of the science adventures the narrative kind of switches between different.
I was gonna say, so it's your perspective character.
Yeah,
here that
looks like it.
That makes sense.
A body had just been found in Dogenzaka yesterday, and all these students cared about with their stupid jokes. The body was found less than 10 minutes away from the school, but they barely even mentioned it.
Oh, well, it really hasn't hit the news too much yet, but...
First reports had been on a major communications company's website. That was where Ito had seen it. It had been last night. It had made the morning news in the morning papers, but all that had been reported was the body had been found, and no details were known. And it was rare for a high school kid to check the news, TV news, and papers every day. There was no word from Miyashiro. Ito was really worried about what had happened at the Love Hotel, but he had no way of asking about it.
Damn it.
He took out his phone, even though he knew he hadn't gotten any calls. Sure enough, there were no messages. He'd been doing that a lot since yesterday. He couldn't bring himself to make a call. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to say to a friend who'd been taken away by the police.
I'm here for you, bud. Cake with a file in it.
The laughing students irritated Ito in a way that he didn't really understand. He'd been planning on videotaping the entire cafeteria today, but instead he gave up and left.
My best work, but that's rude. Hey, you filming? I hope it's going okay.
He went inside the club room and saw Kurisu was there.
Any word?
Kurisu's expression clouded over for a moment as she shook her head.
Nothing since then. I see.
Wakui, the club's advisor, had told him that Kurisu had taken a change of clothes for Miyashiro to the police station last night. He'd been told that neither Miyashiro nor Onoe were hurt. The police were probably going to let them off with a warning, and if they weren't suffering any after effects from the trauma, they'd be let go in the morning. But school was over. It was almost evening, and there was still no word from either of them. Ito dropped in his chair.
Damn it. The school's so peaceful, barely anybody's talking about what happened yesterday. I see. I mean, sure, there are about 2 murder reports a week in Tokyo, so I know it's not exactly a new thing, but still, Dogenzaka's right next door. It's possible somebody walks by that place on their way to school. Actually, I bet someone does. Maybe it's like he always says, and none of these people ever read the real news. Do you have any idea how transparent you are?
Kurisu chuckled.
Huh? You're worried about the 2 of them, right?
Ito started to speak, but then choked it back.
Not really. Aren't you the one who's worried, Miss Vice President?
Ridiculous, she chuckled.
I'm angry. This whole thing is ridiculous. Serica is one thing, but he ignored my warning and went in anyway. And this is what happened. He's making you do all the filming for Newspaper Club too. No, I don't really care. It's not that big a deal. It is. When you're given a job, you need to do it.
Is this it? Kurusu, what's going on with the budgets? Kawahara appeared. He was very out of breath.
The budgets?
The list of groups have gone over their budgets. Accounting says it's not in yet. Kurusu frowned as she realized her mistake.
Oh, sorry. I'll send you an email with the list.
ASAP, okay? Before the teachers go home. Kawahara ran off before Kurusu had time to answer. And before he was even out of sight, Kurusu had booted up the PC and started tapping at the keys.
What? No, it's nothing.
Which of us is more transparent? That's what Ito was about to say before he stopped himself. Normally, it was impossible to imagine Kurusu not doing her job.
Stupid fucking perfect, whatever.
For a while after that, Kurusu focused intently on her work. Ito didn't have much else to do, so he watched her. When he looked carefully, he could see small dark circles under her eyes. She probably hadn't slept. And then Ito realized, for the first time, that Kurusu had probably come to the club room to see if either of them had contacted him. With all the preparations that were going on, there was no other reason for her to be here.
Empress of all people, huh? Or, whoops, the Empress of all people, huh? Whatever.
Kurusu pressed down hard on one final key as she finished her task.
Emphasis on the
Then, suddenly, an unpleasant sound filled the room.
Hey. I know.
They looked over and saw that Kazuki was nibbling on dried squid as she played her game, oblivious to everything around her. Ito had seen her come in after Kurusu had started her work. He thought she might have said hello, but knowing her, probably not. He'd also seen her start to play her game. He'd been trying not to bring it up, but that was clearly impossible now. I mean, she was really into Elder Scrolls.
Right.
She must have been concentrating pretty hard. Her gaze was constant and steady. Ito sighed.
Always stuck in her own little world, isn't she? Maybe she doesn't care about anyone else. Of course, that's not true. She's just a little stronger willed than most people. Even so.
He's in the same club as them, he
Oh,
started
sorry.
to say, but Kurusu stopped him with a raised hand. He looked down at Kazuki's game screen.
Evidently not. Huh?
Kurusu chuckled and took off Kazuki's headphones.
Kazuki, I'm not a big gamer, but so correct me if I'm wrong, but is there a reason you're continually flinging fireballs at the side of the house? Is that fire spreading really fast?
Kazuki's the easiest one to voice. Kazuki
Yeah,
looked back
it's
at
a
the
great
screen
one.
with a stunned expression on her face. She yanked the headphones out of Kurusu's hand and quickly put them on, then started to pound at the keyboard.
Python French for one of the biggest voices. Bad choice. Countdown. And either swallow that squid or spit it out. What you're doing now is bad manners.
Kazuki may or may not have heard her, because she struggled with her game for a while, and then she froze like a toy whose battery had run out.
It's the worst.
Then squid she'd been chewing fell out of her mouth and landed on the desk.
Gross.
She stared at it for almost 30 seconds, as if something impossible had just happened. Then, she silently stood up and staggered over to the shelf where the electric coffee maker was kept, her mannerisms rivaling that of an incredibly fierce drunkard. Her face had turned pale.
Kazuki, are you okay? Are you gonna make us coffee?
Kazuki nodded in response to Ito's second question, and started to make coffee with shaking hands. She made Kurusu her usual, with 2 cubes of sugar, and gave Ito a coffee mixed with milk. Then she made a cup for herself, black, but didn't drink a drop. And then she punched the wall. Oh, no. Her forehead slammed into the desk with a thud, and she became so quiet that it was impossible to tell if she was breathing.
I hate it when that happens. See,
Kurusu looked to Ito for agreement as she cleaned up Kazuki's squid.
wait, really?
He took a sip from his coffee, not sure what to think. To him, none of this made any sense.
It's empathy, you see.
Kurusu didn't say another word as she drank her coffee. Ito looked up at the blank ceiling and decided that this was as good a time as any to ask. It wasn't that it was wrong, but it still felt kind of awkward.
Hey. What? Is there a reason he's so obsessed with this case?
Kurusu froze. She lowered her gaze as if searching for an answer in her coffee cup.
Thieves. What about you? You seem pretty interested in it yourself.
She seemed to be trying to change the subject.
I just like this stuff. This stuff? Weird murder cases and stuff. But still, running into a crime scene like you did yesterday was...
That was going too far, he continued. Kurusu silently took another sip from her coffee. She seemed to be staring at a single point in the distance, lost in thought. It was clear that while she was seeing the things around her, she wasn't really paying attention to any of them. Seeing her like this scared Ito a little. Was it really that big of a deal?
If you don't want to tell me... That's not it. I'm sure that basically Taco is the same as you. He likes this stuff. And he's always liked getting involved in the things that are dangerous.
I see, Ito said.
You two started living together in elementary school, right? Yes, that's right. A little after the earthquake, to be precise. Just about the time when I would have been entering middle school.
Kurusu and Miyashiro were both what people called earthquake orphans. They'd both been in 6th grade when they lost their parents to the earthquake. Since they had no relatives to take them in.
Popular Gundam offshoot, sorry.
Since they had no relatives to take them in, they'd been sent to the same orphanage, a group home known as Aoba Dormitory. Kids like them weren't common in Shibuya these days, but they weren't exactly rare either. Miyashiro had been so badly injured during the earthquake that he'd become comatose. He was still in that coma when he first arrived at the dorms. The head of the dorm was also the head doctor at the Aoba clinic downstairs, and so for a while, that was where Miyashiro was kept. Kurusu had taken care of literally all of his needs. There were 4 kids at that facility. Kurusu and Miyashiro were the oldest. Since her birthday was earlier than his, she dubbed herself the oldest of the 4 siblings and volunteered to take care of the other 3. Even back then, Miyashiro had a habit of being curious and getting into trouble.
He is a bit of a brat, you know? He says that he's different from everyone else all the time, even though that's not true.
She spoke like a parent worried for her child's future.
But in the end, he...
Hello, everyone. Oh, I didn't think I'd see you here, Kurusu-kun.
Have you heard anything from them, Mr. Waku?
The club advisor, Waku, was quite relaxed as he came into the room. Kurusu quickly stood up and rushed over to him. He nodded and motioned for her to calm down. Yeah, just now.
Is everything okay?
Huh? Of course. Hey, Ito-kun, get to the gym. Now.
The gym? Why?
The Light Music Club says they're about to do rehearsal. It should be good footage for the Culture Festival.
Mm,
Rusu's expression froze, and suddenly it changed.
is that really what you held, Mr. Walkie? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. What's up, Kurusu-kun? You look so happy.
I seem happy to you? I'm going now. You're coming too, Mr. Waku.
Huh? Wait! Sensing a gathering storm of violence, Itu pushed Wakui out the door. Kazuki had looked up for a moment, but then she slammed her head back down the desk. Now that she was all alone, Kurusu took out her phone and checked it. There was no message, of course. She sighed and looked at the board. That incident yesterday at the Love Hotel, whether it was murder or suicide, from the way Miyashiro and Onoe had looked when they had been taken by the police, something had happened. Miyashiro had said it had been something to do with the incident 6 years ago. Now that it had happened 3 times, there was no ignoring it. No, it was too dangerous. She couldn't let him get any more involved in this. She thought back to Ito's question about why Miyashiro was so interested in this case. Kazuki was still lying with her head on the desk. When she turned her head to the side, she looked like she was enjoying herself for some reason. When Kurusu saw that, she suddenly lost her desire to drink the coffee. Apologizing in her mind to Kazuki, she decided to pour it out at the water fountain. She headed over to the water fountain upstairs, which was usually less crowded. She found herself looking down at the gaps between the tiles as the sound of her footsteps rang in her ears. She could tell that she was walking slower than usual. Essentially, Kurusu was lonely. She remembered what she said to Miyashiro the day he first woke up at the clinic. Go ahead.
Kurusu Nono, call me by my first name. We are family, so it would be weird to call each other by our last names, right? Ugh.
In the end, he
just wants to pretend that he's special.
She knew why, he supposed. The event that had caused him to leave the dorm was still bothering him. November 7th, 2009. Back in time, baby. This way, please! Come this way!
I'm telling you, we can get around from the back. How many times do I have to...
Save us! Oh, save us! Someone!
Why won't the phones work?
I wanted water. I could still feel the sensation of the dead woman I'd touched when I'd fallen on my hands, and I wanted to wash it off. I wanted to wash my face, too. The wind from the flames had blown something small into my eye, and it itched badly. I was thirsty, too. Sarika was on my back. She showed no signs of waking up. Damn it. My legs were at their limit, so I forced my way through the crowd and sat down on a tire that had rolled nearby. It smelled like burning rubber. I didn't have the energy to apologize to the people I ran into, and they didn't have the energy left to complain. I slowly brought Sarika to rest on my knees and looked around. I saw an orange light. The light of the fires reflected off so many things. It was pretty, I thought, before I realized how inappropriate that was. For some reason, I started to count the bodies on the ground, not knowing if they were alive or dead. Oof. But in less than 5 seconds, I'd gotten way over 10 and realized how futile it was. I stopped. Shibuya Station was utterly destroyed. The 107 building, which was only a few minutes away by foot, was ruined as well. 5 whole hours after the earthquake, the chaos had only increased. There were fewer people out walking, but I wasn't sure if that was because they'd reached safety or because they'd collapsed from exhaustion. I saw someone carrying his own severed arm in a convenience store bag. I saw people ignore a barefoot woman as she cradled a baby whose head was smashed in. Someone had outright given up on sanity and were flinging things into the fire. A group of middle-aged businessmen were dragging a young girl into the darkness. A young man went to join them. This is hell. There was no other way to describe it. This was hell.
Mm.
Sarika moaned a little in my lap. I slapped her cheeks to wake her up. Anoi? Anoi! Her face warped in agony. It was okay. She was breathing. She was going to be okay. We're heading to Yoyogi, okay? You know, the big general hospital? You remember, right? We snuck in there once when we were little.
Preferred days of our lives.
Instead of answering, she just moved her eyebrows a little. I swore and lifted her up on my back again. She didn't seem to be that badly hurt, but this kept happening. I read on Twippo that the general hospital in front of Yoyogi Station was accepting patients injured in the earthquake. I didn't know if that was true, but I had no choice but to go. It had to be better than the hell that Shibuya was now. Don't die. I yelled, unsure if Sarika could even hear me, and started walking. Just needed to get to the hospital.
Huh.
I leapt up. I quickly glanced to the left and right as I tried to calm my racing heart. I saw that I was in my own bed. I felt exhausted. I also felt really thirsty. Maybe it's because I had that dream again. I searched around until I found a bottle of water by my bedside, took a gulp, and then grabbed the phone off my bed to check the time. 12:17 a.m. A new day, huh? It was around noon when the police had let me go from Shibuya Station with a warning. I'd gone home and went straight to bed, so it seemed I had been out of it for more than 12 hours. This was no good. Maybe I'd slept too long, or maybe I hadn't slept enough because my head felt like it was filled with lead. No, maybe not. I put my hands up to the thin light that was coming through the window and checked their color. They were the same as always. There was no blood on them. I suddenly felt like I wanted to throw up. I hoped another drink of water would help, but it didn't. Damn it. Thought for a moment and then decided to turn on the room lights. Turn on my laptop. I ran a search for foods or drinks that help with nausea. The internet gave me page after page of results. I checked a bunch of pages just like you're supposed to when you're looking for something up. Ginger, huh? Guess I got that Kankanto that Jensen gave me. I looked under the sink until I found the Kankanto powder, then poured it into a cup and added some hot water from the electric kettle. It had a strange smell, unlike anything I was used to. A sip. I could tell that my hands were shaking a little as I held the cup. Damn it. It wasn't the first time I'd seen a body. I checked the phone again and saw that there were several messages from Sarika and Kurusu. I was about to respond, but stopped. They were probably still up, but I didn't feel like talking to anyone. I felt like the air I'd breathed at the Love Hotel yesterday was still deep inside me, along with the cheerful melody of that music box and the red that covered my vision. I felt something strange on my cheeks and put my hand up to feel it. It was a bandage. I'd gone to some kind of clinic at the police station where they put this on. They told me I must have hit my face hard on the floor when I passed out. I was unlucky enough to scrape my cheek against a piece of the shattered glass. Thankfully, it wasn't a big wound. It barely hurt at all. But it itched like hell. And each time it itched, the shock I'd felt back then came rushing back, and my heart would start racing. The danger was long gone, but I still couldn't forget the terror. Had I almost been caught up in something horrible? No. I'm fine. I'm fine, right? I'm not like everyone else. I'm not an amateur. I went through that hell I dreamed about and survived. Okay. Maybe having that nightmare again was good for me. I managed to force down the urge to vomit and clicked away at the computer. I opened my computer's TV program, changed the channel to a news program, and watched it on my monitor. A few moments ago, I bought a USB TV tuner off the homeless guy who had no idea what it was worth. All it cost me was dinner at a local restaurant. Just like I thought, there was an article.
Drive cost, but that's probably about right.
Yeah. Just like I thought, there was an article about the events of 2 days ago. All they said was that a man's body was found at Dogensaka Love Hotel. It didn't say whether it was a suicide, murder, or just an accident. There was nothing about the girl who'd been found at the scene, or about me and Serica. See, I figured this was what I'd get. I never experienced for myself the gap between what happened at the crime scene and what was reported on TV, but it didn't really surprise me. These days, the internet was a lot faster at reporting things than TV was. To people who follow the news online, TV wasn't a place to learn new things. It was where you went to see if something you'd heard about was so important that it was getting TV coverage. What about the people online? I closed the TV program and opened a browser. Time to go to Reddit. Nikanaya News had something on it too. I clicked on the uploaded video. Another incident. Huh, that's you. I'm sorry. That's the news reporter.
Another incident has occurred in Shibuya. This makes for 3 strange incidents so far.
Just like always, it was Watabe, the attention-seeking internet reporter. He was famous for charging into a crime scene to get scoops. Lately, he seemed to be getting a little too cocky. He explained what he'd gone on at the Love Hotel as the video showed pictures that he'd probably taken himself.
Either way, I think the police are hiding something. The only announcement has been that a body was found, but if that's all, then why would...
And then, like always, he started to mix in his own subjective opinions with the news. He was right. The police were hiding something, but there was little point in listening to the rest of this. Vague information would just get in the way. This is all you can expect from the masses on the internet, I guess. I mostly ignored Watabe's voice as I looked at the video on the screen. He must have gotten it by charging into the hotel room. The hell was all that? I thought back to what had happened. A man was strangled to death in his room. There was an unconscious girl and a police officer there as well. The girl was the most obvious suspect. Even if she chose a strange way to do it, she must have been the one who killed him, right? No. If she had definitely killed him, they would have announced that. He was arrested just like I was. Over 30 hours had passed. Even if they had found out she was innocent, they should have announced that too. The police believe that the girl with him may know something and are proceeding with their investigation, or something like that. The police think that she didn't do it? And what was she doing in that room? And even if the police had told me during the interrogation that I'd imagine it, I knew what I heard. Someone else had visited that room and knocked on the door. The sound was eerie and always had the same rhythm. I felt a cold chill. I idly turned toward the door.
Positive?
My room was the same as always. You want positive?
I suppose.
There was no sign of anyone approaching it. I listened carefully to see if I could hear anything outside. Nothing. Come on, you're worrying too much. Positive trigger!
Woo!
Huh? I started to knock at the door, right?
No.
I couldn't believe it. I'd forgotten to lock the door. I froze as it swung open from the outside. Someone was here. Who? I knew 2 people who'd come in without waiting for an answer, but was it okay for me to just stand here? Who's there? I gulped and spoke in a hoarse voice. Poking through the gap of the door was...
Taku.
Oh. Someone I knew well.
Good. You're still up. Smooth.
Relieved, I staggered over and sat down on the bed. That hadn't done my heart any favors. For some reason, Serica was still standing at the entrance, fidgeting. She didn't try to come any further in. What's wrong? I don't think it's a good idea for a girl like you to be visiting alone at this hour. I didn't think any of the homeless in this park were bad people, but someone who was strapped for cash might attack her. Especially after what I'd seen. I felt like I was going to start imagining things I didn't want to visualize.
Taku, are you okay?
Okay with what?
Generally, after what happened yesterday.
Honestly, not really. Is Erica going through the same thing?
When I was alone in the house, I remembered what happened yesterday. So I got scared and couldn't sleep.
No,
I don't want to be alone tonight, okay? Can I stay over just for tonight?
I knew exactly how she felt. Just having someone you knew next to you was enough to make you feel a lot better. Take me, for example. Having Serica here was letting me relax a little already. Sure.
Didn't realize that like all the positive ones were gonna be like that.
Not all of them are. I figured I'd
just had good luck, I guess.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Serica must have felt very relieved when she heard my response because she felt like she was about to cry. She sat down right next to me on the bed. Why was she sitting next to me? There were other places to sit. When I looked closer, I saw that her shoulders were shaking a little.
Just keep remembering what happened yesterday.
No, it was natural, I supposed. Serica was a girl, and she was younger than me. Seeing something like that must have been a huge shock to her. It was my fault for getting her caught up in this. As I started thinking about that, she put her head up against my shoulder.
Taku, stay with me. Please. Be a real shame if he's just like dead.
No, he's a lot tougher than that. Of course, in reality, Serica would never let me see her being that vulnerable. And she'd never actually come to visit. Was she okay, even if I wasn't? Maybe she was just fine. She was probably just dense. Yeah. I was real sensitive in comparison, so in a sense, I was jealous of her. I sighed a little and locked the door. Ah. Crap, that's right. A new day. What about the pundits on the internet? Time to watch some late night. I quickly opened another site. Shibuya News. This was the private news site I trusted the most. It was always updated at midnight every day. The quality of the news and the reliability of its updates made it far more useful than TV or mass market sites. Online news was faster than TV, but of course, some sites were better than others. There was no end to the number of wrong-siders who would treat the net as a single entity that was the opposite of TV. TV says one thing, but the internet says something different, they'd say. If you ask me, they were all utter morons. These days, even if a lot of the larger sites online aimed for the same mass market that TV news did, it was critical that you found out for yourself which sites could really be trusted. Just like the name implied, Shibuya News dealt with the goings-on around Shibuya. It was similar enough to our newspaper club that everyone in the club knew about the site and used it regularly. Its owner, Kisan, was, how should I put it, very skilled at getting and sharing information and seeing its effects. She carefully calculated when to send and when to receive information. A lot of websites effectively use Shibuya News as a parent page, linking to it constantly. Most of them are privately run news sites as well. As a result, a huge number of people saw the information that Kisan spread. To put it more unkindly, Kisan was manipulating them. Any time Kisan wrote about a popular shop among high school students in Shibuya or a free smartphone app, I would hear people at school talking about it within a few days. Take, for example, the Twipo user that most of Hekio Academy followed, HekioBot. It described itself as a bot by Hekio students for Hekio students, but from the number of times it would show up on Shibuya News, my guess was it was actually run by Kisan. She was one of the few people I recognized as a right-sider. When something important was going on in Shibuya, first you checked the TV shows to get the basics, then the mass market sites to see what the net was really saying. Then you'd go to Shibuya News for the latest information. This was the way of the newspaper club, and myself specifically would always look for information. I figured they'd be broadcasting. The quality of the news wasn't the only reason that Shibuya News was popular. One reason was that Kisan seemed to be a girl. When someone was thought to be a girl in real life, they got a lot more hits than someone who was thought to be a guy. And the other reason was...
And that was a contract of blood to seal our sins by Phantasm.
This radio broadcast. Whenever there was something big she wanted to report on, she would always do an internet radio broadcast. It offered proof that she was a girl, and her voice was calm and soothing to the ear. A lot of people just listened to her broadcast. The audio from the audio bleed case was that I played for Kurisu had actually been modified by Kisan to be easier to understand.
Okay. Normally, I don't play Phantasm, but there's a reason I chose it for today. Yeah, you're all aware of the death of a man in his 20s in a Shibuya Love Hotel yesterday, correct? Like always, Watabe-san at Nikanaya News was there to tell y'all about it, but...
I chuckled a little. His glory hogging was a running joke among Nikanaya News viewers.
But there's something he didn't notice. Phantasm released this song 6 years ago, and you all remember what happened then, of course. That's right, the Shibuya earthquake. But before that, there was also the strange events called the New Generation Madness. Good.
Startled. Crap, that's right. I'd forgotten after everything that had happened at the Love Hotel. No way.
Some of you have already noticed, right? The Don't Look Up case on the 7th of September, and then Audio Bleed on the 19th, and now this new death yesterday, or more precisely, 2 days ago on the 27th, 29th, I can read. The dates match up with the incidents from 6 years ago.
In that second, the Queepo stream that was linked to the broadcast lit up. It was overflowing with comments.
The next date is October 10th. I swear I can read. The date of the vampire case. My beloved citizens of Shibuya, please take care. That's all for tonight. Thank you for listening in. This has been your host, K-san. KCK-san. It will soon be 12:30 a.m. on October 1st. I pray you spend tomorrow in a way you won't regret.
She signed off in her usual way, and the broadcast ended. She got me. That's right. That hypothesis was why I forced my way into the Love Hotel. And something had happened, just like I thought. After 3 such incidents, it was only natural to assume that there might be a connection. The New Generation Madness.
Scooped by the pros.
Uh-huh.
Ain't that some shit?
Was it gonna happen again? I suddenly felt a pain in my cheek. I reached up and saw that blood was coming out from the side of the bandage. The cut must have opened. As I took care of it, the red blood on my finger stood out. Without warning, I felt a horrible sense of dread, like I was sinking into quicksand. Usually, I'd love to have a mystery to solve, but now that the case was definitely real, I hesitated. For the rest of that night, I wasn't able to do any more research about the case. Third death in Shibuya could mean serial killer on the loose. New Generation Madness. Holy shit! First, seriously, Thread Archive. Oh yeah! Hell yes! It's happening, not GIF. Somebody call me. Key-san is so smart. Oh man, I'm getting goosebumps. Woo! It's real. How did no one notice? Summary of Key-san's podcast. Oh, let's go over that again. Festival time. Let the Carnival of Miracles begin. New gen. I want to know about the third death. Was it as nasty as Audio Bleed? Whose eyes are those eyes? I had the same feeling. I think this means another earthquake's coming. Shibuya's doom. I'm Key-san's dad. You people are sick. People are dead. What the fuck are you so happy about? Don't look. I call BS. I thought Key-san was smarter than this. I'm disappointed. It's just one thing these games do right. It's mimicking Reddit.
Yep. Yeah.
October 1st.
Yeah, that's some green text shit.
Yeah. Yeah. 2015, Thursday, the same time.
Meanwhile.
Meanwhile, at the Shibuya police station. Would you please just tell me a name and address already? Are you a student or do you have a job? You went to that hotel with that man Kakita many times, right? How did you know him? Were you dating? If you don't want to talk, feel free to just nod or wave your hand. Just tell me. You have the right to remain silent.
You're goddamn right I do.
The officer sank back into her chair in resignation. Shinjo could sympathize.
lawyer.
Yeah.
I see.
He'd just come to check on her a moment ago, but they'd probably been doing this since yesterday. Locked in an interrogation room, cut off from the outside world, and questioned by multiple officers, most people would lose their cool. They'd start to wonder what effects their words were having, and focus on every movement of the officer who was taking down notes. Even if it wasn't hot in the room, they'd start to sweat. But this girl didn't respond at all. It probably wasn't because she was used to it. If she'd ever been interrogated before, the fingerprints they'd taken would have told them who she was. Shinjo-san? Maybe we should take it to a mental hospital, you mean? It made sense. The natural assumption was that the shock of the incident had incapacitated her. Shinjo nodded, as if considering it.
Fuck no. Any missing persons reports?
This was the second day since the incident. If she lived in a normal family environment, someone should have submitted a missing persons report by now. I checked, but no luck. Shinjo watched the girl as he listened to her talk. But the girl didn't move a muscle. Even mentioning her family didn't... Oh, sorry. That's you.
No, it's alright. Even mentioning her family didn't get us anywhere, huh?
Normal ways weren't going to work then. She'd be sent to the hospital by dawn at this rate.
Thanks. I'll take care of her. You can go.
The other officer couldn't hide her happiness as she left the room. Shinjo sat down in the chair she'd been sitting in and took a good look at the girl from the front. She was ignoring him and still looking down at the desk. She didn't even seem to notice or care that the person in front of her had changed. Shinjo remembered his conversation with Momose. After he'd hung up, she'd call back in precisely 3 minutes, just like she promised. And then she said, "My kid has a message for you," is what she says.
Is that all? What does that even mean?
Just ask her. If she reacts like you just did, or doesn't say anything, then I'm sorry, but the psychiatric hold is your only option. But if she reacts in any other way, contact me again. The message didn't make much sense, but he didn't see any other way.
I've got a question for you.
There was no response, of course. He continued, uncertain if she was even hearing him.
Do you have it but didn't realize it, or have you never had it? Which is it?
Her eyes moved. Instead of looking down at the desk, she looked up at Shinjo. Shinjo was surprised, but he did his best to hide it.
Well?
The girl stared at him as if trying to figure him out. And then, a moment later, "Who are you?" Her words were quiet, but sharp. It was the same tone of voice that Shinjo used when he was interrogating a suspect.
I'm a detective here at the station. What's your name?
She seemed to be thinking about something as she stared at him. Her mannerisms were just like his own, again. It was the same way a detective faced a criminal, trying to gain every scrap of information from what he could see. And then she slowly opened her mouth. "Aramu Hine. I'm a student at Hekio Academy."
You don't say.
I left the RV where I lived alone, and only then did I realize that it was evening. The sunlight must have been pouring into my room, but I hadn't noticed. I didn't really remember when I'd gone to sleep or when I'd woken up. Okay, right? I looked around and made sure that none of the scenery had changed, then walked up the stairs in front of me. Miyashita Park was just a few minutes walk away from Shibuya Station. It was also known as Homeless Park. This is where I lived after I left the dorm. The first floor was a huge parking lot, and the second story had a futsal field and a climbing wall. It had been mostly abandoned during the recovery efforts after the Shibuya earthquake. After the earthquake, people who lost their family or who had never had any family to begin with gathered here en masse. Mitaki Park, which was right next door, was supposed to be the evacuation point for this area, but Miyashita had always been the mecca for the homeless, so everyone gathered here. When people gathered, so did many different things. Containers filled with food, blankets, tents, even the trailer for an RV that was left behind when its owners fled Shibuya. Every part of the park was overhauled to create a place for people to live. The parking lot, the futsal field, the climbing wall, etc. And the next thing everyone knew, it was a society that was as big enough that the government couldn't force them out. Then some groups of idiots came around to try and turn the place into a temporary housing. That was shot down in less than a month. As a result, even though you could find beautifully rebuilt skyscrapers just a street away, Miyashita Park had become one of Japan's biggest slums, a place where those with no home would gather to stare up at the lights. Can I have this? I spoke to the man who sold newspapers, magazines, and everything else as I picked up a newspaper with today's date on it, October 1st.
Oh, I didn't see you. I don't see you buying newspapers often, Taku. Sure, take it.
Can I?
I've got plenty here, and take a look.
He showed me the snacks and alcohol at his feet. He must have sold a lot today. There were a lot of people in the park with enough money that they could have stayed in a capsule hotel if they wanted to.
Oh, and if you're gonna throw it away, do it somewhere else. They're getting annoying about that garbage.
I thanked him and went to leave.
Oh, hey, Taku. I'll have to pay the electric bill?
Yeah, that's right.
You can pay mine, too. Tell him it's from Machan on the south side.
He handed me a 1,000 yen bill.
Oh, wait, that
Nodded.
wasn't a joke.
Yeah, I nodded, took it, and headed deeper into the park with my newspaper. Oh, so his name was Machan. Miyashita Park was divided into north and south halves by a road. If he said he was from the south, that must mean there was a Machan on the north side who I hadn't met yet.
You'd think that.
The administration office on the south side, just like the name implied, was where all the administration was done for Miyashita Park. It kept things peaceful between the government and the park occupants, resolved disputes between the homeless, and maintained all the facilities at the park. I knew the woman there by her face, but not her name. I gave her the electric bill, which was due on the first of the month, along with Machan's part. Life in the park might seem carefree and lawless from the outside, but it was actually much stricter than you'd find in some families.
All right, thanks. Nobody's ever going over their territory or trying to move in, right?
Everyone who lived on the outer rim of the park, everyone who lived on the outer rim of the park, including me, since I lived on the far south, had been asked by the management to keep an eye out for that. I think it's okay. When I looked earlier, I hadn't seen anything change about my place.
All right, it's rough out there lately, so take care. If you see someone you don't know, tell me right away.
See something, say something, huh?
You know about what happened in the hotel, right?
Oh, yes, I understand. I was startled, but quickly nodded. I suddenly felt like they were criticizing me for hiding something.
Mm-hmm.
The corridor that connected the north and the south ends of the park, this place which overlooked Majidori, was the one part that hadn't really changed since before the earthquake. There were cracks here and there, but the government had forbidden people to put things here because it would ruin the view and might not be safe. I leaned up against the rail and spread open the newspaper with the setting sun shining down on me. There was a column on the front page about the Love Hotel incident, but no new information. There was nothing in the article about the girl who was found at the scene, or how this could be related to what happened 6 years ago. Had they not figured that out yet? Or maybe they had, and they just weren't announcing it. If it had something
verification.
Yeah, if it had something to do with the incidents from 6 years ago, then so did Don't Look and Audio Bleed. Did that mean they weren't suicides? If the killer had driven them to suicide, then it was probably the same person behind 3 incidents. Was he working alone or part of a group? Or maybe people who were somehow related to the incident from 6 years ago were killing themselves one after another. Maybe I should look into what the 3 cases had in common again. Damn it. The hell. My hand went up to the new bandage on my cheek. I rubbed it several times to make sure it was still there. I took out my smartphone. The data I recorded at the scene had been deleted by the police. I probably should have just counted myself lucky they didn't take my phone itself. I'd lost my biggest clue to the case. It's a sign I should just give up. Maybe this was just out of my league. Maybe it'd be stupid to get involved. Suddenly, I got a call on my phone. I checked the name and it hit the answer button. Yes? Hello?
Oh, it's you, peasant. They're here, at the usual seat.
Thanks. As always, the waitress's appearance and manners were a mystery to me. I bowed to her and went to my seat. Serica was there already, reading a manga. And squeezing her Garo. She was fiddling with her Garo Froggy cell phone strap without realizing it, as usual. It really was a strange habit, and a nuisance to the people around her. Cafe Lax, Cafe Lax, LAX, the preferred hangout of the newspaper club, was just a 10-minute walk away from Shibuya Station. The owner was a manga fan, and the walls were lined with many volumes. There was free Wi-Fi, the prices were good, and if it wasn't crowded, you could sit there for hours as long as you bought a single drink. The most important part was that since it was in a hard-to-find spot, barely anybody from Haikiho knew about it. So I didn't have to worry about running into anybody I knew. As usual, there was barely anyone there. Just a single couple that appeared to be in college. I ordered my usual Mountain View and sat down. What are you reading?
Oh, Taku, I'm not sure what this is.
Huh?
I just grabbed it off the shelf.
Serica went and put the manga back on the shelf, then came and sat back down.
It's not porn. Here, this is your uniform. Non-chan told me to clean it, so I did.
Thanks. I took the bag containing my uniform from Serica. It was a uniform that had gotten covered with blood at the Love Hotel. I think the police would take that. Did you go to school today?
You would think that, actually. Nope. Neither did you, right?
I nodded. I hadn't felt like it at all.
Did you contact Non-chan and Shin-chan?
I sent them a text. When I got up this morning, I sent them both a text saying I was okay. They both sent back responses. They both sent back responses almost immediately, but neither of them said much about what happened. They probably weren't mentioning it for my sake. So, how are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I guess. It wasn't my first time seeing a dead body.
I took a big gulp from my Mountain View.
Fucking you.
Erica spoke in a normal tone of voice as she drank her favorite grapefruit juice. She didn't seem like she was lying. That's how she always been ever since she was a kid.
Nice squirt.
It wasn't that she didn't have any feelings. She just got over them very quickly.
It's called repression. Get used to it, Taku. What about you, Taku? Are you okay?
Now that she asked, I wasn't sure how to answer the question.
Yeah, I'm cool.
The waitress brought me my Mountain View. I nodded and took it. Was I okay?
No way, seriously? That's terrible.
Seriously, I couldn't believe it. What a dumbass, right? I spun the ice in my drink as I listened to the couple's irritating conversation. Erica silently waited for me to answer. I knew that face. He'd been my friend since we were kids. There was no point in trying to hide it. To be honest, I'm not sure.
Not sure about what?
About whether I should keep pursuing the case. Erica seemed generally shocked.
Huh? Really?
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'd like another thing of grapefruit juice. Another
There.
thing of it.
Serica raised her hand and ordered another drink.
Like how I order for a drink. You know, the thing of whatever the fuck it was. The thing that has the thing. Normally, you'd say that this was your big chance and rush right in, right?
I mean, it might be true, but things were different this time. After what I'd gone through?
Wink. I mean, sure, what happened at the hotel was scary, but...
Erica continued, as if she knew exactly what I was thinking.
Remember how scary it was when you used to go chasing after urban legends? Remember how you snuck into that hospital because it was an adventure?
I nodded. I just had a dream about that.
That was scary too. But even when you were crying, you said that the terror was something special because nobody else had experienced it.
You were crying back then, too.
Didn't say I wasn't, nerd. Was I? Yeah, finish it all. Oh, thanks.
You're a little too young to be a bartender, aren't you?
It's just grapefruit juice.
Yeah. Erica took her glass of juice and gulped it down.
Phew.
So,
Sorry, what?
I mean, so?
So what?
Come on.
Oh, right. So, anyway, I figured you'd say that since you had an experience that no one else had, that even if it was scary, that this was your big chance.
Her voice was light as she drank her juice, but her words didn't feel light at all. Something other people hadn't experienced. Something different from other people. Sometimes, I don't know if she's smart or dumb. I stared at Serica's face. How much did she understand about what she was saying?
It's almost like she's people. What? No. Oh, no. You can't have any.
She moved the juice away
My
from
juice.
me. I was wrong. She
Mind
probably didn't
reader.
realize anything. Actually, she probably wasn't even thinking about anything. She really was dumb.
I don't know what. I don't know about hearing from that part-timer.
Right? Does he just not give a damn? Well, normally, why would he? Hey, did I ever tell you about the comments from the Shibuya earthquake victims?
What do you mean?
I was pretty sure I told her a bunch of times. Well, whatever. Time for a lecture.
God, okay.
Remember how, just after the chaos from the earthquake calmed down, a ton of reporters started asking the victims for comments before the term Chaos Child Syndrome existed? Of course, I'd been in a coma for about a year after the earthquake, so I'd only investigated it after I woke up. Most of the interviewers were about what good citizens were. Despite the scale of the disaster, there was barely any violence or looting. They said that it was amazing. And I think they were right. When they asked the victims what was the hardest part, most people were more concerned about others instead of themselves. They talked about how they couldn't contact their families and tell them they were safe, or how they couldn't give their children their favorite foods. But then one person said something different. I remembered what they said word for word. It had left a huge impression on me. You outsiders have some nerve if you're telling us to hang in there. To be honest, I agreed completely. They said exactly what I was thinking. I didn't know who they were, but I admired them anyway. Those feelings were the exact opposite of all the excited, fired-up people on the outside. I think whoever said that was someone close to me. Not someone who just saw the whole thing on the internet. Not someone who just happened to be caught up in the earthquake.
I mean, one of your parents.
Oh.
Oh, hey, the guys from the tennis club say they're coming to the drinking party after the festival.
Seriously? Oh, then we definitely won't be able to drink at home. I was different. I was different than other people, than the people who just lived normal lives in Shibuya. I ripped the bandage off my cheek. The wound had closed up. My face was back to normal. I was back to normal. The case was right in front of me. I had a huge mystery to investigate. I wasn't about to just be caught up in something. As a right-sider, it was my job to jump right into the middle of all this information, right? I could feel something like excitement mixed with a sense of duty welling up inside me. I couldn't stop myself from smiling. You might be put in danger again.
Huh? You mean the case?
I nodded. Serica laughed, a little strangely. And then, for some reason, she patted me lightly on the shoulder.
Sweet summer child.
I didn't know what that meant, but I started to laugh too. Serica nodded.
All right, let's start with the Love Hotel case then.
Serica took out her Pokecom. She typed into it with a practiced hand. She seemed to be loading a video file. What's this?
This is the video you took at the scene. I uploaded it to an online storage site before the police deleted it. I almost said something about why didn't you upload it to the cloud, but clearly
Yeah.
she was fucking thinking.
She ain't dumb.
Obviously. Yeah, dumb nothing.
By the time I got back home, the sun had long since set, and it was past 8 o'clock p.m. I realized I'd barely eaten anything since arriving at the Love Hotel, and suddenly felt very hungry, so I'd eaten a meal at Lax.
Airport food's the worst. Hey, I've been wondering since the last time I came here, did you change your hot water pot? It used to be more... Oh, you made this into a closet?
Erica had followed me home. She started to glance around the room and offer her opinions on the way it was laid out, just like a girl. She would open drawers and be surprised, even though there was nothing important inside, or look at new files about the cases and tell me their contents at a glance. She always was a little strange like that. She would be surprised by the most obvious things, but sometimes she would show startling insight. And wait, you're really excited about something, aren't you? She laughed another strange laugh. Is it that much fun to try and solve this case?
It's more like it feels wrong to give up on something you want to do until you've really given it your all. No matter how it ends up, it's the only way anything matters. You're going to die someday, but you aren't dead right now.
That's a weird way of putting it. I see, I thought. He was right. A sound came from my PC. The copy operation was finished. Okay, now delete the original file in the online storage.
Why?
Just because of what it is. I don't want anybody seeing this.
This is my private storage, so it should be okay.
It's where I keep my OnlyFans. Even so,
That'd be unfortunate.
Yeah. I want there to be no chance that someone else can access it. Actually, delete the one in your Pokecom too.
Okay, Taku, what are you doing?
What would you like, Eric?
Is this
Negative?
one? No.
She looked over at me while she rifled through my bookcases. Making Concanto.
Conto? What kind of food is that?
Serious? It's a herbal drink. Gensen gave it to me. It keeps you from vomiting.
Wow. I'm amazed you know something like that.
And then some information I found before flashed across my mind. Of course, it was from Cool Cat Press. I'd read about it in a certain special they'd run. If you put eye drops into a beer, it'll make a girl feel
No, it does
aroused.
not.
At the time, I hadn't believed it. In another issue, they said if you put eye drops in soda, it would make a girl go to sleep. Adding eye drops to a drink would create unusual side effects. I heard a rumor that it was just an urban legend, though. But what would happen if you put eye drops into Concanto? There was a stupid teenage girl who didn't even know what Concanto was right in front of me. Should I try it?
Don't consume eye drops.
I prepared 2 cups like it was the most natural thing in the world and poured out the Kakanto I made. And then, being very careful not to let Serica see me, I took the eye drops off the shelf. Now, to just add a few drops of it to this, and maybe it'd be enough to arouse even Serica. I tried adding a few drops. But wait a second. Cool Cat Press hadn't said anything about how much to use, so I had no idea how much it would take to get any effect. I felt like you would need more than a few drops. Okay, I'll just have to add the whole bottle.
You'll straight kill somebody with that.
The problem was how to make sure that Serica didn't see me. I'm going to make yours now, so just sit there and wait.
Nailed it. Really? Thanks. Never had Concanto before.
Serica did just what I told her. So easy. While she sat on the sofa, I went around to where she couldn't see me and opened the lid on the eye drops and poured the whole bottle in.
Pro tip, don't poison your friends.
Yeah. Here you go. My heart felt like it was pounding fast. I tried to act normal as I handed her the cup.
Yeah, it smells terrible. Like medicine.
Because it is medicine. Oh, shit. Well, Concanto is herbal medicine anyway. That's just how it smells.
It's probably really good for you.
Serica laughed. It was lucky for me that she was so stupid. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Okay, time to try it out.
She put the cup to her lips with no hesitation. And then
It's not like he'd poison me or something.
she started coughing. A lot. Yeah, I should have seen that coming. I must have added the wrong amount. I'll have to tell her what I did later and apologize. Are you okay? Serica wouldn't stop coughing. Her body was twisting in pain. The cup fell to the floor and spilled the Kakanto everywhere. Ah, hot! No, hey! She kept coughing. This wasn't normal. What's wrong? And then, all too suddenly, she coughed up blood. The red liquid stained the sofa, the floor, and me. What the hell? Was I not supposed to mix Kakanto and eye drops? Did I accidentally make something poisonous? Oh, no, hey!
Eye drops, really.
I tried to pat her back when her eyes suddenly rolled up into her head. She started to spasm and shake. All I could do was watch in shock. Then she fell on the bed, faced up. Stopped moving. Blood was still dripping from the side of her mouth. Anoi? She wasn't breathing. You're kidding me. You're dead? Tell me it's not true.
What's not true?
Huh? Serica was looking at me, her head tilted in surprise.
Shouted.
There was no blood or drool dripping from her mouth, and her eyes weren't rolled into the back of her head.
Tell you what's not true.
Oh, no, nothing.
Okay, are you lying to me about something?
That's not it. Don't worry about it.
Sure. Okay.
Serica just did what I told her. I couldn't tell if she was obedient or just didn't care. But for now, I was saved. I took a drink from the cup of Kakanto in my hands. It didn't taste like medicine. I hadn't been able to find any eye drops on the shelf, so I'd just given it to her normally. It was wrong to think about experimenting on a friend. Yeah.
Anyway, Jensen's such a nice guy. I like him.
I wish he wouldn't get drunk so often, though.
But he's your only real friend here at the park, right? So he really is a good guy.
Was that why? Well, he did help me out a lot.
Okay, it's deleted.
Serica put away her Pokecom. Alright. I booted up my laptop next to the wall and sat down in the chair that folded onto a bed. As I went to load the video file into the player software, I happened to glance at its length. 26 minutes? We're really in that room for that long? Oh, Serica said.
Don't think so. Right after you passed out, the police arrived. But I felt really sick and started throwing up. At some point, I grabbed your phone and put it in my pocket. Oh, it's her. Yeah, she's the murderer. And then, when I was in the police car, I realized that I had it. That's when I stopped it from recording anymore.
So that was it. Come to think of it, I hadn't asked her how that had happened. I'm amazed you had time to upload it to the storage before the police deleted it. Serica nodded, as if she felt the same way.
It was blind luck. When we got to the station, I felt sick again. So I ran to the bathroom. That's when I got the idea.
No, I'm really impressed. Really was. I'd passed out in the hotel, and the next thing I knew, I was at the station. Supposedly, I'd walked from the patrol car to my car to the room, but my memory was vague and hazy. I took a big sip from the cup to force down my urge to vomit and slowly let it sink into my stomach. If the recording was successful, then I should see what I saw back then. It happened only 2 days ago, but it left such a strong impression on me that it didn't feel like that much time had passed at all. I took a deep breath and told myself it was time to do this. I looked over at Serica.
Yeah.
She nodded back at me, then looked at the monitor. Okay. I tried to steady my slightly shaking finger as I clicked the file. First thing I noticed was that sound. The peaceful sound of a music box that filled the room, coming up from that spinning bed. A dark, gloomy room that had curtains in the back and a rotating bed behind it. It was that room. The same emotions I experienced before came flooding back to me through the blurry screen. I could sense my own hesitation from my gasping breaths. Serica grabbed my shoulder at the sudden sound. It's okay. I think that's just where I made the floor creak.
Yeah, I see.
The camera was slowly moving toward the back of the room. At some point, my breathing matched my breathing from the recording. It scared me, so I pulled away a little and took a deep breath to isolate myself from the person in the video.
That would be creepy as fuck, actually.
Yeah.
Would freak me out.
I heard that sound. The sound of the wires creaking as the bed spun. I could feel the panic coming from the screen. I wasn't sure what to do. I'm gonna keep going. I could tell that Serica was gulping a little. As I spoke, the camera kept moving forward. I could hear Serica's soft gasp in the video. The police officer and that woman were lying on the floor. I hadn't realized it at the time, but the glass was scattered all around. Oh God. The camera quickly panned without warning. It was that bed. The silhouette behind the curtain was probably that man. The angle was off and wasn't pointing directly at the bed. At that point, I'd stopped paying attention to the smartphone. Let's get out of here, now! I heard a dull thud and the screen went black. Huh?
Huh? Did you drop it?
Probably. It seemed like I tripped and fallen backwards. The phone had probably fallen from my hands. Was it black because the camera had fallen face down?
Fuck you. The door won't open.
Serica's voice sounded like it was a little far away. The smartphone was still picking up sound, evidently. I could hear myself trying to open the door and swearing when I failed. That's right, I'd been fighting the door then. And then... my body shivered as it had gone numb. This was... I could hear it. Hey, you heard it too, right?
Yeah.
I could hear it. The police said the surveillance camera hadn't shown anyone else coming into the room, but I could hear it. That constant, rhythmic knocking. Somehow, it made me feel uneasy and scared. Someone had been on the other side of that door, and suddenly the screen moved. What?
Fuck you. We need to get out of here.
It was showing the man on the bed. The screen was blurry, but the man was almost exactly in the center of the viewfinder. Had I picked up the smartphone? Couldn't remember.
Fuck you.
In the video, I ignored Serica's voice and kept pointing the camera at the man. I could hear my own rough breathing, and I remembered how I felt then. Then suddenly, I heard a snap. Ah!
Goddamn jump scares!
The screen moved violently for a second, and then for another moment it showed the girl, and then the angle changed again, and it stopped moving. The screen was covered in red blood, but... is that the ceiling? What I was looking at was probably the room's ceiling. Since it didn't move at all, this is probably where I passed out and dropped it. Just like before, the camera was still recording the sound. I could hear Serica vomiting, and what sounded like someone falling over. What? Hey, what happened here? It caught the police officers running into the room. They were asking Serica what was going on. She was probably the only one who was there who was still conscious. Shortly after, the screen went black. Serica had probably put the phone in her pocket, just like they said. She said, I could hear an irritating noise that must have been the sound of the phone scraping the skirt's fabric. The screen stayed black, but it kept picking up nearby sound. Then, at the very end, there was a quick shot of the inside of a patrol car. I realized that at some point I'd leaned my body towards the screen. I sat back in my chair. I'd known what was going to happen, but this was still hard. To be honest, I was lucky that the phone was dropped and a lot of it wasn't clearly recorded. I didn't feel as much of an urge to vomit as I expected, but I was still sweating from a nasty, unpleasant feeling. I gulped down the last of my liquid in my cup. You okay, Inoue? I asked Serica. And then...
Hey, Taku, did you see something weird at the end of the video?
Huh? What? Weird? The whole thing was weird. Not a second of it was normal.
Once we went further into the room...
Serica moved the mouse to rewind the video. I couldn't tell whether she was tough, simply dense, or maybe she just felt like it was nothing but a video, but she advanced through the shocking scenes with no hesitation.
Here, look. Outside the window.
Huh? Oh. I could see the wall of the Love Hotel across the street from the open window. There was something there. What is this?
A bug, maybe?
If there was a bug that big in it, Caruso would go and blow up the whole building. She hated bugs.
And maybe some graffiti.
Why was her first answer a bug, but her second answer the sensible one?
Yeah.
No, wait, I've seen this before. I switched from my player software to my editing software and then blew it up that part of the screen. Damn it, I could make it out, but it was so far away that it was blurry. The resolution was too low.
See, it's a bug. It's spreading its wings.
It's not. I'm sure I've seen this somewhere before, though.
Yeah.
What? I turned around at the loud noise.
Oh,
You want it? You can have it.
I have returned. Sorry to keep you waiting on me.
There was a drunk man with a bottle of booze in his hand. Give me a break. Of course, no one had been waiting for him. Make less noise when you come in.
Hey. Oh. Hey, Jensen. Thanks for your help. What do you mean, my help? You told me about the thing at the Love Hotel, remember? Oh, did I? Well, doesn't matter. Something happening. Great! Taku wants to be a reporter, after all.
No, I didn't. According to Jen, every day I supposedly wanted to be a different thing. Last time it was a movie director.
I have returned. Hey, lend me your ear. Lend me your ear, Taku. Look what I got my hands on. It'll help me remember that I'm me, huh? Wait, where is it?
He started patting down the pockets of his very old coat. This annoying old man was Jensen. He was the elder ruler of the park, the CEO of a company with a 3 billion yen a year salary, and the best friend of my father, Jiro. At least, according to him. My dad's name wasn't even Jiro. He was related to a clan of foreign nobles, so if he ever needed to, he could summon a foreign special forces team to do his bidding. Except last week, his bed had been taken over by a stray dog, so he had to come stay with me.
It's gone. What? My most important thing is gone. Crud. How am I supposed to piss? Hey, Jensen, don't take off your pants.
Jensen was always loud when he got drunk, and when he got really drunk, he was even louder. Today, he wasn't very drunk. I had no idea what he was like when he was sober. I'd never seen it happen, or even heard of it happening. Sometimes, or often, actually at least once a week, he would come by my room drunk, talk for a while, and then leave to search the park for more alcohol.
If I found it, Missy. Look, I found it. Look at it. I'm not gonna look. Absolutely not.
He was obnoxious as hell, to put it mildly, but I couldn't chase him away. Actually, I couldn't complain about him that much at all. When I'd left the dorm half a year ago, I ended up in the bottom half of Miyashita Park. Since the upper half kept the rain off, the bottom half is one of the most popular spots. A lot of the reasons I was able to get this spot and even get this RV was because of Jinsan.
You're awful. That's disgusting.
Back when I lived at the dorm, I'd done some cooking for the homeless in Miyashita Park as part of our volunteer activities. Gensen had remembered that. A nobleman does not forget his debts, was all he said, and a Lannister always pays his debts. And then somehow, I'd been given this place. He was also the one who taught me how to get by in this place.
Oh, right. Taku, look at this. Want to take it off my hands?
Gensan took something out of his pocket. It was porn.
Big old bag of porn.
I ripped a
Raunchy stuff.
I ripped a copy of my favorite magazine out of his hands. I quickly glanced over to Serica.
Hate you. I hate you, Gensan.
She was mumbling that over and over to herself. I thought she liked him.
Well, you know.
Good, she didn't see it. I breathed a sigh of relief and hid it someplace nearby. How much? Gensen raised a single finger. This was one rule, for example. It was the first thing you learned at the park. The homeless would never, ever ask you for money. It was the one thing they could never say. Money was either found lying on the ground or earned by working or selling things. It wasn't something other people gave you. I took out a 100-yen coin from my wallet and gave it to him. Gensen grabbed it and put it in his pocket like he didn't really care.
Hey, I've been seeing a whole lot lately. A whole lot lately, even.
He was looking at the PC monitor as he spoke. For a moment, I didn't know what he meant. Huh?
Huh?
My eyes met Serica's for just a moment. The monitor was still displaying that blurry, blown-up image. He saw it a lot. Hey, Gensen!
You know what this is? I want to play some baseball.
He was back in his own little world. What was this guy's problem? I got closer to him. Gensen, have you seen this before?
Huh? I mean, it's everywhere I go. Like in front of the station. Wait, was it what station again?
Huh? You mean the train station? You mean Shibuya Station?
I mean, you know, wait, Taku, it was the last thing you showed me, right?
Huh?
You know, a few years ago, when you did stakeout in the karaoke box and where the first person to get, something or other.
That was last weekend, actually, not years ago. When I'd been uploading the photos of the crime scene I'd taken from the karaoke box, Gensen said had come by and seen them. This was it.
Oh, Taku, look.
It was an image of the karaoke box I'd hidden in to take pictures of the crime scene. It was on the 5th floor. I could see the same mark. I switched from the player software to the editor software just like before, and magnifying that part of the image. And then I realized what it was. That's right. I had seen this thing before, and just like Gensen said, it was something you could find all over Shibuya. Something that had been there for a long time. This is a sumo wrestler sticker.
Bum, bum, bum.
When I saw the club room for the first time in 3 days, I was stunned.
Man, I did my best.
I've been waiting all morning to tell Ito the big discovery I made yesterday. I stayed up almost all night finding all the information I could on it, and then forced myself to wait until school ended to tell him. I figured that just sending him pictures to his phone or trying to explain in the words would just confuse him. I wanted to stand in front of the board in the club room with all the information we learned so far pinned up on it and use the club time to really work through it. But
Carol!
there was nothing there at all. I could only think of one person who would do that. Karusu?
It was when we left yesterday.
She said it was too dangerous, that she wasn't gonna let you do it.
What's because of what happened at the Love Hotel? Probably.
I mean, yeah.
In as angry a voice as I could muster, I said, "Why didn't you stop her?"
I told you, I tried. She told me to shut up, though. So I did.
You should have done something.
Don't tell me to do the impossible. Could you have done something?
Don't tell me to do the impossible. Ito shrugged as if to say, see? Just imagining it scared me a little. Doing something about Kurusu was absolutely impossible. No one in Hekio was capable of such a thing. I pointed to the PC on the desk. What about the data?
Just consider yourself lucky that she didn't physically destroy the whole hard drive.
So the data was gone too. Ito was probably joking, but if Kurusu thought she needed to do it, she would have. Noe, what are you printing out?
Here you go.
Erica dropped a stack of papers on the desk. I looked down and saw that it was the images and articles about the case. It was the ones that were uploaded to the newspaper club server. Where did you get these?
Cloud, aren't you always telling me that a true right-sider needs to make sure his stuff is backed up? I mean, you've got backups too, right?
I mean, yeah. Well, yes, but...
Nerd.
Erica flipped through the papers. Oh,
For some reason, the image quality drops if I print it off my Pokecom. I'll re-upload it to the server.
wait a second. Erica went to stretch a cable from her Pokecom to the PC, but I quickly stopped her.
Is this image quality good enough?
But that's not it. I mean, the image quality's fine, but I'd prefer if you didn't upload it to the server for a while. I glanced at E2 as I spoke. The newspaper club server would be accessed from any PC in the school as long as you knew the password. Kurusu was spending her time at the student council getting ready for the culture festival, but there was still a chance she might look at the server for some reason. Ito nodded in agreement, a serious look on his face.
You two are too afraid of Non-chan. She's nice, right, Hana-chan? See?
See what? Was Kasuki agreeing? She was just pounding down on the keyboard and mouse really hard.
That's because she likes you two.
That's right. We visited every crepe stall in Shibuya together. Non-chan knows all about sweets.
Erica puffed out her chest, very proud of this information. I didn't care in the slightest.
And either way, I think Non-chan's going to find out.
That was probably true. Yeah. We kept pursuing this case as part of our work for the newspaper club. Kurusu was smart enough to catch on.
It's okay. She'll understand once you talk to her.
I simulated a variety of situations in my mind.
I think we're up for good now.
Kurusu loves sweets. This was something that Serica had said, and that I'd known about too. So would buying her something like this from a famous sweet shop be enough to win her over? Would bribery work on someone as prim and proper as the student council president? Worth a try.
Everyone has price.
Unless we could win her over, we weren't going to be able to continue the case. Okay, let's go buy her something to bribe her with. Anoe, tell me Kurusu's 3 favorite sweet stops.
Okay, if you're going to buy something, I want to go too.
She was clearly intending to buy something for herself. Well, that was fine. It was time for the mission to begin. So, here you go. This is a present for you, Kurusu. I knew that Kurusu was staying late after school to get ready for the festival. I handed her the present I just bought. Serica had told me about a pancake place near Shibuya Station. It was a popular store that always had a line of girls outside. I heard it was one of the few places where you could get pancakes for takeout, so I quickly chose it. Standing in line with the girls for an hour was almost torture, but I somehow managed to do it.
Are these pancakes from Egg and Sanks?
That's right.
There's always a line there, so it's nearly impossible to get Sam.
Her eyes were sparkling like a little girl's. It wasn't an expression I was used to seeing from her.
You're giving this to me, lady?
Yeah, I always cause you a lot of trouble.
It's so rare for you to give me any kind of present like this, Takaru.
Huh?
Thank you. This makes me really happy.
Oh, yeah. After seeing how happy she was, I couldn't tell her that I was trying to bribe her.
That's strange.
Huh? Why? Why is she crying?
I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was possible for me to feel so happy. It's so weird for me to cry so much, isn't it? But this really made me happy. Thank you, Takuru. You want to split this? That's fine, alright?
Yeah, that's how it would go. I was satisfied with the results of my simulation. This might work. Okay, I've got it.
You're sure?
Ito must have been really surprised by my answer because he badly overreacted.
I didn't think you were so brave.
I'm always brave when it counts. Just don't put anything on the server yet. I want to be cautious.
Okay.
And for now, we'll put the information on the board, but when it's done, we'll take it off. Things are going to get tricky.
Okay.
And for now, let's not tell Karusu about the case. We can keep an eye on things until they calm down, and then bring it up when she's in a good mood after eating something sweet.
Okay. Aren't you just being a pussy?
What? I'm not being a pussy. I choose the method most likely to succeed. If you call that being a pussy, then the definition of pussy...
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I'm gonna put up. Hold that in. Okay.
Ito and Serica took out the big map we used for the board. This is the best way to persuade her. I know it. He didn't get it at all. There was no way I could persuade Karusu if I tried to go after her head on.
Let's see. Wait, my Shiro. Let me be serious for a second here.
He had a very serious tone in his voice as he hung up the top of the map. Huh? I've been serious the whole time.
Is it okay to keep pursuing the case?
I told you, I'll persuade her eventually. I'm not being a pussy. I'm just being cautious.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. You saw something really bad, right? In the Love Hotel?
Serica froze midway through the process of taping on the bottom of the map. So that was it. I hadn't told Ito anything about the Love Hotel. I hadn't told him about what I'd seen or experienced there. I tried my best to give him a cheerful smile. It's fine. No problem. This is way too big of a scoop not to chase, right? Ito didn't answer. He stared at me as if trying to figure me out. And then he relaxed and laughed a bit. Well,
Yeah, I figured as much when we talked on the phone.
he was probably talking about the call I made yesterday. After I made my discovery, I called Ito and asked him to find all the information he could about the Love Hotel case. It had already been 3 days since it happened. I hadn't been really following it at all, so I'd asked Ito to put together what he could find.
Okay, all set.
Serica finished pinning the map to the board. Okay, let's get started. It was a brand new map of Shibuya. We had to put it up from scratch again, but now that I looked at it, maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. I made a huge discovery which could impact the whole case. It was a good idea to start over from the beginning. First, we'll assume that there's a connection between the dates when these incidents are happening and the incidents from 6 years ago. In other words, we'll consider all 3 cases so far as part of a set. This is regardless of whether someone's behind all this or what they might be after.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, there have been 3 incidents. If we find out we're wrong, we can reconsider things then.
All right, let's start with the locations. The first case, Don't Look, took place in Jinan. So, here's the picture of the body. This one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the summary of the case. By the way, the incident that occurred 6 years ago on the same date was group dive.
I think that's... Oh, yeah. Okay.
And here's the summary of that case. That's it for the first case. Let's move on to the second. Audio bleed happened in Shenzhen, so... Here's the picture of the body. And here's the summary of the case. By the way, the incident that occurred 6 years ago on the same date was a man-child. That was the man who had a baby stuffed in his stomach.
Right.
And here's the summary of that case.
No, it's not the most respectful naming convention, but it is intuitive.
Okay, finally, the one that took place at the Love Hotel. That happened in the Love Hotel area of Daganzaka. So, here. So, about the summary. I looked at Ito and I could see he was nervous. He was worried, but at the same time, a little excited.
What's wrong? You okay?
Yeah. First, can you show me what you put together? I want to know what the public knows about it. I saw the name they gave it.
Oh, yeah. Just, give me a second.
Ito got out his own Pokecom and started to fiddle with it. He linked it to the printer over the network and printed out his files. Wait. You're not upping them to the server after all, are you?
Of course not. I don't want to get punched.
I told you you're scared of her.
I skimmed that printout that Ito made for me. After all the cases we researched together, he knew how to summarize information to a single page like a pro. Ito read from his own printout.
The name was announced last night. The victim was Kikita Hironori. 22-year-old resident of Shibuya. He had a part-time job at SafeWorks.
SafeWorks?
How can you not know about them? They're a huge, successful venture capital firm.
It was like reiterating it, you know?
They've been making a lot of money lately after the Shibuya reconstruction.
Really?
Just like Shibuya News said, he was a male in his 20s.
Nice. So you checked there? That was about the only thing I could do, Ito said as he nodded.
Wait, she said he was in his 20s the night it happened. At that point, the only official announcement was that a man's body had been found. Jeez, where did she find all this stuff?
I couldn't agree more. How did Kisan do her research?
Cause of death was strangulation due to hanging. They decided it was a suicide after a romantic quarrel.
Huh? Suicide over a fight with a lover? It was ruled to be a suicide?
Yeah, that's what the cops said. The only other information they came out with was that he was pretty good at his job. Made a surprising amount off of a commissioned sales job.
So who'd he get in a fight with?
Hmm?
I mean, if he had a fight with his girlfriend, that means he had a girlfriend, right?
Oh, I see.
Ito looked at a bunch of files on his Pokecom.
No, I don't have anything on that.
What about witnesses?
The hotel staff were the ones that found him, but nothing else was said. Of course, there was nothing about you two either.
What's going on? They hadn't said anything about the other girl at the scene?
It's all cool.
Erica was staring at me, confused. She was probably thinking the same thing. I can understand why there wasn't any information about us. The police had said there wouldn't be, and to be honest, we were just gawkers. There was no real point in telling anyone we were there. But that girl clearly had seemed to be involved in the case. They said he got into a fight with his girlfriend, that it didn't make sense not to report the girl who was there. It's because she was a minor? Wasn't sure, but she had looks young. She definitely wasn't older than 19. No, even then, they'd say something. Whenever there was a problem with someone dating underage girls, they never reported the girl's name, but they always reported her existence.
What's wrong?
I'll explain. I pinned up the information that Ito had given me. The picture of the body from the Love Hotel is this one.
What's this?
A picture I took at the Love Hotel.
Ah, you took pictures?
Ito almost jumped at me in shock. I nodded. More specifically, I took a frame from a video I recorded and printed it out. Onoe uploaded it to her private storage before the police could delete it.
Seriously? Oh, wow. That means nobody has this but us.
Ito put his face with the picture in excitement.
What? He hung himself sitting down? Is that a wire?
He mumbled to himself as he stared at it, trying to memorize every last detail.
What is this? What the hell happened here?
As I listened to Ito speak excitedly, I looked towards Serica. I wasn't sure why I was looking at her, but she nodded as if she understood. I nodded back.
We
The
have to
police
kill him.
The police had told us not to tell anyone, but I didn't care. I slowly started to explain what happened to Ito. How we made it to the hotel undetected, how the room we'd seen from the outside was where we found the body, how we'd gone inside and found a police officer lying on the floor, how the body in the photo was sitting on a spinning bed and rotating slowly, how there'd been another girl there, and how someone tried to enter the room, but I didn't tell them how the door had unlocked itself. The police had told me I'd imagine it, and they made me realize I had no proof. Between my curiosity and my fear, I'd been a mess at the time anyway, and more than anything, without any kind of proof, I wasn't sure it had happened at all. When I finished, Ito's first questions were the same as mine had been.
So there was a girl at the scene, then someone tried to come into the room. The girl was real, but they couldn't find any evidence of someone trying to come into the room, could they?
That was right. That's what the police had told me. But I heard the knocking, and I have the sound on my video.
Just the sound, right? That doesn't prove that someone was on the other side of the door knocking.
No. I mean, logically you're right, but I'm sure someone was on the other side. Ito cut me off, clearly irritated.
Logically, I'm right? Well, you're the one always telling me that logic is the only thing that matters, idiot.
Don't call me an idiot. I just prefer to cover all my bases. They belong to us.
Let's start with what we know for sure, right?
Damn it. He could have only said that. He could only say that because he hadn't heard it in person. That strange eerie sound which hung in the depths of your ears and wouldn't let go. But that was true. I guess he's right, yeah. I hadn't seen someone else trying to enter the room myself. Maybe he took my silence as agreement.
Oh. About this woman who was there. Oh, that's what, why you guys were asking about his girlfriend.
She was more a girl than a... Oh, sorry. That's you.
She was more a girl than a woman.
Huh? A girl?
I think she was probably around my age. I don't think she was older. She was the same age, or a year or two younger, maybe.
Maybe. I wasn't sure, but if Serica said so, she was probably right. Serica never had any evidence or proof for her statement, but she was often correct. But there was nothing about her in the news, was there? I looked back at Ito to check.
Yeah, I checked everything from gossip magazines to the official newspaper announcements. I even took a look at the aggregator wiki, but there was nothing like that.
I see. Which means we'll have to look for her ourselves, I guess. I flipped through the remaining papers.
Any other clues?
There was something I noticed when going back to the footage. This one's nice and logical. I got real proof after all.
You're a petty little man, aren't you?
Say what you like. It was finally time to tell Ito what I found. Where was that image I made yesterday that had a nice picture of the sticker? Oh. Do you know what this is? Ito looked at my pictures for a moment, uncertain.
Seen that before. Where was it?
He used his Pokecom to run a search.
Yeah, that's a sumo wrestler sticker, right?
Yep, that's what they call it, or a sumo sticker to be short. No one knows who's putting them up or why. There are a lot of theories about where they came from. The first time they showed up was on the net in 2007. At one point, they were famous enough that the TV station was reporting on them, but after the 2009 earthquake, everyone stopped talking about them. The city was where the stickers were going. The city where the stickers were going up had been destroyed. People had bigger things to worry about. But starting sometimes last year, they started to appear in Shibuya again. There are a lot of different rumors about what they are. Of course, some people are saying it's just a prank. Others are saying it's some kind of tagging or a spiritual barrier of some sort. One of the stranger ones is a theory that it's actually a sumo wrestler putting up stickers of his own face. But I don't think that's
one
right.
of the stranger ones?
They call these things sumo wrestler stickers, but that's just because the man in them has a fat face. There's no actual proof that they were modeled after a sumo wrestler.
Hold it for a second.
Ito cut me off just as I was getting started. Come on, man, I was just about to get good.
Who cares? Do these stickers have anything to do with the case?
I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know, but these stickers placed near the scenes of Don't Look was... That's one. This is a blown-up version of the picture I showed you from the Don't Look case. It's on the wall outside of the karaoke place I went to.
Is that a sumo sticker?
Yeah, it's a little blurry, but I'm sure of it.
Well, you're not telling me.
Yep, there's one near the Love Hotel too, placed at a spot where it can see the crime scene.
Then why? What about Audio Bleed?
No, I don't know about that one yet. I looked yesterday, but I couldn't find anything in the scene of the incident. But we just learned that if something happens twice, it's worth betting on, right? Ito felt silent, as if he was thinking about something. I was hoping he'd be a little more surprised, but I guess that's the best I could expect. Maybe there's just too much new information coming in for once for him to keep up. By the way, the same incident that occurred 6 years ago on the same date was crucifixion, so... this one. I was hoping
that's the rate. Oh, you're right, yeah.
And here's a summary of that case. For now, the dates match, but the actual cases don't seem to have much in common with the ones from 6 years ago. Don't Look happened on the same day as the group died, but there's only one victim, and we don't know for sure that it was a suicide. Man-Child happened on the same day as Audio Bleed, but while both of them involved something stuffed in the stomach, the victim in the latter was a girl. And I don't see anything in common between crucifixion and the Love Hotel incident. So, since we can't find any other way to proceed with the case, I think we should try seeing where the sumo stickers take us. But, maybe I was overthinking this. Maybe there was no telling what else could be related to the case. Just in case, I decided to put up the data for the other new gen incidents from 6 years ago. October 10th, Vampire. 23rd, Numbskull. 28th, Finger Food. November 4th, DQN Puzzle. Yeah, that should do it. I looked at the board and nodded in satisfaction. That's about all we know for now.
Carol!
This might be a good place to stop it.
Yeah, probably as good as we're gonna find anyway.
I was trying to get to a good spot.
Good.
Oh man. Well, we saw the third case, the third killing. Any theories so far, Eric?
Oh no way I did it. I don't really have anything good to go on for that. Yeah. Mostly just vibes. But like she was still awake while he's unconscious. She's the other person in the room when he gets conked, it seemed like.
Yeah. The good thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's it seems fitting given the like setup and everything. You know, it's got to be one of the main cast. Almost. Or like, yeah, because she's probably whoever it is also your like Casey Kasem person, radio host lady.
What's the motive?
I don't know, man. That's I don't hazard a guess on that yet. It's got to be weird though, probably, given the pedigree.
All right, so we're gonna put you down as your phrasing. You're fingering Inoue right now. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm uncomfortable with that phrasing.
We'll
He's my
see.
top of my suspect. That's where my money is in
Okay.
the Tontine of Chaos Child.
All right. Well, we shall have to find out when we come back to the story. But for now, because it's 10 after and I got to work in the morning, we got to go.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've enjoyed this and want to get notified when we go live again, subscribe to the channel, either YouTube or Twitch, or join the Discord. There's a link for that to come hang out with us, where we also post notifications when we go live. We go live every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, so we'll be back here again tomorrow night. And we have a Patreon if you want to throw us a buck or two. And with that, we will